to one and all the faculty from IITM, CSR leaders, my seniors and my colleagues. I am Shweta Jha from Alumni Corporate Relations team based out of Bangalore, and I nurture corporate partnership. Today I will be the host for this event and my colleague Padma. I sincerely thank you and acknowledge every one of you who extended your time to join us today for this event. The title of the event is Leveraging Technology to Drive Your CSR. I feel each of us sitting over here feel the same, that technology is a change driver and it lies to the root of the prosperity. The Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Madras, is one of the world's most premier institutions of education, of research, with a distinctive learning environment. IITM has a long history of being involved in socially relevant projects. Now I will not take much of your time and would start the inaugural address, but by Professor Kam Koti, who could not join us, our director, because of his some urgent work that came up. So we have a session from him that is to be played by Padma. Please play on that.
Namaskar. Sensitization to local issues, sensitization to problems of social relevance are extremely important for an institute. As we aspire to become more and more locally relevant, specifically to our immediate neighborhood, to our country, the CSR grants become extremely important as an enabler to explore solutions for many such problems. In the past and currently, we are extremely benefited by such generous contributions through the CSR grants. We have looked at many problems of societal importance. I would like to mention 3 of them here as a case study. Number 1 was an artificial leg that has been developed and delivered. We have seen many physically challenged people without legs to whom this artificial leg was fitted and they were able to move happily. The second one is a standing chair for people who cannot stand and walk up. This standing chair essentially helped them to really stand up. The third one is the septic tank cleaner robo. Manual scavenging is something not for any human being to undertake. The septic tank cleaner robo actually will help eradicate manual scavenging from the globe. These are some examples that are very close to our heart, and we feel extremely happy that we have delivered such a system which can bring in a change for good to the human. I request continued support from all the CSR donors, which will enable us to continue on this journey of local relevance and look at multiple problems of societal importance that we could solve and offer great solutions that will bring in a big change to the human life. Thank you.
A great message from Professor Kamakoti. Now I invite our Dean, Alumni Corporate Relations, Professor Mahesh Panchgula. Professor Mahesh is a very passionate person about creating social impact, and his vision is to see our program creating social technology. Our leader, Professor Mahesh, over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Shweta, for the introduction. First of all, let me start by welcoming all our partners, our corporate partners who lead their CSR verticals. It's a joy and a pleasure to host you here and to explore ways by which we can come together to make a deeper impact. That's the purpose of this afternoon. And we have come here with a hypothesis. We've come here with a hypothesis of what India needs today. And we want to present the hypothesis, we want to present the evidence that we believe supports the hypothesis, and we want to present some case studies of companies that have chosen to go down the path that we're going to propose. CSR as a law is about a little over 6 years now in practice. Several companies I know have been doing something called CSR, if not by that acronym, for a very long time. Traditionally there have been family-owned companies that have done something in their local neighborhoods for ages. But now we are in a formal Ministry of Corporate Affairs governed framework where there's a certain compliance requirement, there's a certain reporting requirement, and also above all, we tend to forget this in the minutiae of details. There is a mandate to do good. The reason the law was framed is for each company to decide their own definition of good and do good in your local neighborhoods, as Kama mentioned. So that is going to be the underlying theme in every discussion today. We are here to explore ways by which we can come together to do good at the end of the day. We believe there is a multiplicative advantage in leveraging technology in your CSR pursuits. As the little standee on the left says, technology drives our world today. There's no doubt about it. Is it driving your CSR? We see this as an emerging trend in many companies' prioritizations of their CSR. India, like I said, is a vast country. There are still people, hungry people. There are still marginalized sections of society that need a little bit of a helping hand. There are still schools that will probably benefit from good furniture. All of those are good causes. Now, you can go to the richest of the countries in the world, and what I just said will hold true there as well. But we believe India today is at an inflection point where investing a rupee in developing a better technology solution will tomorrow yield a multiplicative return back, as opposed to investing that same rupee in a solution that is ready to deploy today. That's our hypothesis. There are solutions for various societal problems available today. Investing your rupee can either go to buy that solution commercially available, go deploy it at scale to solve the problem, or deploy a rupee to develop a better solution for tomorrow. So tomorrow's rupee is better spent. We believe India is at a cusp of that transformation, that we need to see societal transformation through technology and efficiencies that come with improvements in technology. This is a fundamental paradigm shift that we are beginning to see in the way corporates frame their CSR policies and the overall philosophy driving their company. And the reasons we believe are simple. Actually, I'll say the reasons are threefold. One, technology is an area that they understand. Let's take an example. Take water as a problem. We'll discuss, there's a panel later on. Our sort of commercially available, deployable solution today for clean water is reverse osmosis. There are reverse osmosis plants at all scales, from several liters per hour all the way up to kiloliters per hour or probably more. There's a certain cost to running an RO plant of that scale. There's a certain maintenance disadvantage that goes with it. If you ask the question, is there a better possibility at all? And the answer is, of course, there are alternate technologies. They've just not seen the light of day yet. They've not seen the scale that an RO technology has seen. So it is, if I was buying a filter for my home, I couldn't argue with RO technology today, because that's the only only alternative, as an oxymoron. Can we, in this room, this group, come together to find alternate solutions? Some of these may succeed, some may fail, but that is the chance we need to take, to say here are 2 or 3 alternatives that could replace RO 3 or 4 years from now. So let's look at this kind of a paradigm in every vertical. The reason companies, we are seeing increasingly adopting this sort of an outlook is A, they are more comfortable with technology development. Most of the people here represent technology companies at the heart. There is technology in every pursuit today. Second, in most cases, the technology projects that they choose are sort of adjacent to their business interest. So they really have a way to judge whether the project succeeded or not in a more hands-on fashion. And companies are comfortable with that. Say, I know where it will make a difference, and I'm going to be partner in this progress, not just a donor in this progress. You can be a partner if it is an adjacency. You cannot be a partner if you are a bank and you are trying to clean up lakes. You cannot be a partner. You can be a donor and a recipient of the reports. Companies are increasingly wanting to be partners, and I believe there is a 2 + 2 = 5 kind of a relationship that will result from partnerships. That's the second reason. And the third, and actually the overriding reason, is that they see a greater impact in the outlook of the company. So the public's perception of the company that they are helping develop technologies for the future, even using CSR. They are anyway doing it as part of their business interest. But their core philosophy, their core DNA is to think tomorrow. That is a message that every company today wants to dial out for the world to hear. These are the 3 core philosophies that we believe support the core hypothesis that we need to invest more CSR rupees into technology development, deployment, and trials. A, it is an adjacency and you are able to sort of be a partner. 3, there is a clear multiplicative effect if it succeeds. And the third is it brands you in better light as a partner for creating technologies of tomorrow. We invite all of you to be partners in this journey with us. We have several companies here who have done exactly that, and some that are here to discuss propositions in that direction to take that forward. So we have several of my colleagues here. I'm sure we'll introduce all of us a little later. Several of my colleagues to discuss possibilities, and we also have representatives from companies that have chosen to partner with IIT Madras in this kind of a journey. So we will open up conversations both between those CSR partners and the rest of the audience here today, as well as between our faculty members and those that are here from the companies, representing the companies. So I think to wrap up my initial remarks, we are at a we live in very interesting times that allow us to make these choices. So very often, I go back and think in 2015 when the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, when our parliament was passing the CSR Act, the CSR amendment to the Corporate Affairs Act, I've always wondered, why did they just not increase the corporate tax by 2%? Why did they let these companies why did they let the companies make their own decision of where to spend this 2%? They could just as well have said corporate tax hike by 2%, more revenue to the government. Now I will go clean up lakes, I will go lay roads, do whatever social good there is to be done. But the government of India believed in the philosophy that each of us locally present know what is good for us. We believe the time has come for us to define good as technology for a better tomorrow. Technology for a better tomorrow and better technology for tomorrow. That's the core mantra that will drive the rest of the day today. Okay, thank you very much, and I look forward to the day as well.
Thank you, Professor. So the day is planned with 4 sessions, and the first session is on sustainable development and infrastructure. So I call upon the faculty for the sustainable development infrastructure and Nirbhay Lumde from CGI, the head of sustainability CSR director, for moderating this session. So Professor Liji Philip, Professor Indumati, and Professor Radhakrishnan G. Pillai, please.
Thanks so much, Shweta, for that. Thanks so much, Dean, for those wonderful words. It's so true that it's not about just about having the money or the grants. It's more about building the partnerships. I think certainly true that 2 plus 2 is certainly not 4 here, but maybe 2 plus 2 is 6 possibly, or more, even more. On that note, I'm really glad to be here on the August presence of all of you. It's always a privilege to be among the faculty. Yes, something that I really cherish. And I'm even more glad to be part of this moderation. I'll do a quick round of introductions. While I know the paucity of the time, I have Professor Radhakrishnan, who is an eminent in the area of durability and sustainability of concrete structures. He's also a master of something that he's going to speak around the sustainable housing. Then I do have Indumati on my right, who's going to speak about more around in the area of environment, more on the climate. Then I got Liji, who is going to speak about more on the water. While those of you who are here who have not heard of them, they're all faculty at IIT Madras, and it's always a privilege to hear from them. Given that we have about 30 minutes of time, the way I'm going to moderate this is going to have a preliminary questions to each one of them around their area of interest, and then followed with specific questions, and then we can open up for further questions. So first, to Professor Radhakrishnan, more around, you'll be glad to hear while you have been working around sustainable housing and the challenges, and there's a lot more needs to be done. It'll be nice to hear from you the insights about how the landscape about sustainable housing, where we stand and what needs to be done. If you can share thoughts, that'll be very, very nice for all of us.
Yeah, thank you, Nirbhay. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity. Actually, we have made a very short presentation. Probably we can go through that. So, as the topic says sustainability, so I just thought of first put this slide on sustainability, UN sustainability goals. Yeah. So anyway, one of the important thing in that is smart infrastructure. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? It's easy for me to look this way, if you don't mind. Yeah. So if you look at the goals number 3, 6, 11, and 12, if you remember these things, the main thing is coming under sustainable infrastructure, where housing is also very, very important. And when we say housing, we all have seen a lot of, you might also be involved in housing projects. But when I look at those housing projects, I see a lot of issues with those projects. That's one thing where I want to say, like what Professor Mahesh was saying, we have to bring in technology into it. Yes, we are bringing in technology already, but there's a lot more to do where we can say, go deep into the technology and then make those houses or dwelling units more livable. Okay, so if you really look, some of those places where you go for mass housing, locations, you may not want to live there, but we expect other people to live there. So this is something which I wanted to keep when we talk about, housing units. And that's where probably technology can play a huge role. See, making 4 walls, a few beams, columns, it's very easy to do. But how do we make them like what we see abroad? See, every time, I mean, I'm very open to say this, every time when we travel abroad and you see very nice, good quality concrete structures. Bridges are beautiful, you take photographs with them in the background. But the moment you land back, there's this big feeling that when my country is going to have structures like that. So that's where probably the difference. We also do a lot of construction, but the quality is very different here and there. I have seen same companies in India, they do different job outside. Much better job outside. The moment they cross the border, the quality changes. So this is probably like, it may not look very fancy. Again, when we talk about civil engineering, most of the time, this is another issue which we face. Like, it may not look high tech, but there is actually a lot of technology which needs to go in. Piyush is smiling, which needs to go in. And then we have to really think about that also. So civil engineering, when we say concrete, what is there in concrete? You mix cement, sand, and this, you make the concrete. But if you want that concrete to last long, then technology has to be brought in. Sometimes we miss these kind of things, and we just do something and end up in repairing or rebuilding the same structures again and again where money is being wasted. So that's where I want to say that where the technology comes into the picture. So maybe you can go to the next. I'll just show you a glimpse of where housing and why housing is very important and what we can do in that sector towards the end. So this is the type of housing which we see. If you really go and, while flying, you look around, you will see. This is the type of housing which we have in many locations in many of the cities in India. And on the just before this right side, that's on the left side of the right image, it's housing. People live there. We need to really change this. Okay? So, and the target for housing in India, we are only about 10%, meeting 10% of that, roughly. So, most of these, policies or schemes on housing, they come to at the end of the project, you meet only about 10%. This is the statistic. So you can see here, 1.14 crores is the sanctioned housing units, but what they have built is only about 50%. This is Pradhan Mantri's Awas Yojana. This is probably the most successful scheme in this housing. We have been having these kind of schemes for our last several decades, but all those were like 10%, 15%, those kind of range. This is probably the most successful project in this mass housing projects. Next, again, even in this, with number, yes, but if you really look at the quality of such units, longevity, how functional they are, and whether they are actually, whether you can actually live in there. You will see in some of these small units when you go, you will see bathroom, and right next to that you will see kitchen. It's not properly designed, and there are a lot of things which we can actually bring technology in and also reduce the cost of such units. When we always use the word affordable, but it's also one more word which we need to use is durable and affordable, and also livable. These are all very important. We always have this cost is the only thing which comes into our mind when we talk about housing. So the affordability comes from the cost, but there is also a factor where that is livable, and livable for how long. I've seen places where in Chennai itself, we have seen where in the cost you can see where houses are built, 4, 5, 6-story houses, but after a few years you go see, you won't live there. So this is not, it's actually waste of money in some sense if you really think. So we have to really think about this durability. That's again where technology can play a role. But so we have to bring that in. This is again, you can see this is a toilet unit. If you really think about that, we can really make this much more cost effective. I'm not going to say cheaper, but more cost effective, and by using different type of materials. And here I work on concrete, so I don't want a very strong concrete material for a roof. Maybe for a beam or a column I will need a different material. So you have to think about how can you select a particular material for different parts of the building. Like we do here, you need a good acoustics, here, right? So that is why we have these wooden, walls and then carpet, all these things. If you put tiles here, echo will be there. So this room is probably it is using functionally graded materials. But do we think like this when we talk about mass housing? Usually we don't. We just make walls, beams, column, roof, and then give a box to them, and then go live like that. This is the way we usually go. So this has to change a little bit. Yeah, I'll just very quickly finish. So this is about healthcare. So I'm just going to highlight on the areas. Healthcare. This is something again where most of the hospital projects, you will see it takes long time, 7-8 years to construct. By that time, we will have most of the, a lot of issues. So we need much more. So you can see the number here in Japan. For 1,000 people, there are 13 hospital beds, where in India we have only 0.5. So you can see where we stand. And this is about precast concrete technology, where again we are talking about constructing a fast, durable, and it also works well for the workers. They will actually go to a factory to work rather than to a construction site. You can see, and they will be working under shade. So it looks like more of like industrialization of the construction sector. Every day, it's not like, I don't know where the workers, they don't know where they're going to work on somebody will decide where they're going to work. But if you have companies or precast concrete companies, and here in this, today we are only doing 2% of precast construction, whereas in other part of the world, it's close to 50%. So next, I'm just giving some number. This we can skip because there are a lot of promises which we have made in the global forums, where we will cut down the carbon emissions, etc. So, but we had many things to work for that. Next maybe. Yeah, this is 2-3 technologies which I said, precast concrete technology, and 3D printing is another thing where you print concrete and then try to make things faster, or construction can be faster. And so this is again last thing. Many of us, have you seen any concrete structure without corrosion? It's very difficult to find, especially if you are talking about a structure which is 10 to 15 years old, you can't really find them. So these are some of the 3 words which I would like you to remember: affordable, functional, and durable housing units. At the moment, we typically talk about affordable housing. Let's add 2 more adjectives to that, which is durable and functional, and these are the 2 adjectives where we can really bring in technology in construction and really start seeing quality constructions like we see in abroad. I just want to make this point that abroad and here the quality is very different. We need to really reach there. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for bringing the landscape of the housing, more on sustainable housing, as well as the challenges, and also talking about a little more on the available technology that we can revamp and relook at it. I'm sure the audience here will connect back with you for sure once we're done with the panel. As we move on from housing, I have Liji here, who specializes in the water and water-related work. Liji, it will be good to hear from you. I'm sure you're also an expert in the area of working with some of the largest water solutions that you have been working with the various state governments, including the government of Tamil Nadu. It would be nice if you can talk about, especially in the area of water conservation, as well as about the water solutions.
Okay. When we talk about water, especially in India, I don't think I have to add too much, because we know that not even 30% of our wastewater is getting treated. When we talk about rural area, it is almost 0. And when we talk about water, the quality of water is a major issue, and millions of kids are dying even today because of poor water quality. So there is a lot to do. Okay, yes, technologies are available in developed countries, and they are very costly. And we know our country cannot afford and the number and the extent which is needed. So we have to have, I want a low cost, affordable, sustainable solutions, which doesn't need immediate lot of maintenance, mechanized systems, skilled labor, etc. So if we can develop that type of a technology, it goes a long way, and we'll be reaching to large number of people. I'll give some example because we got very minimal amount from some alumni of IIT Madras, and we have developed some water quality test kit. Yeah, there are many water quality test kits available in the market, but they are black boxes. They will not be telling you what is in it. So what we have done is we have developed the water quality test kit, and we have shared the know-how to all the people. So any school teacher can make the refill solution and do it. And can you go to the next slide? So, and finally, by seeing the water quality test kit and our concept, because we were not believing in patenting or anything, we thought that it is a social cause. So UNICEF has taken it up, and we have done complete water quality testing and awareness creation in all the panchayat of Krishnagiri and Dharmaburi district of Tamil Nadu. We trained the panchayat president, secretary, and 3 volunteers from each panchayat. So the impact is so huge because the volunteers went and checked all the water quality in their panchayats and report the result every 15 days to the panchayat consultative committee. And if the quality is bad, they take immediate action like tank cleaning, repair, and related things, no infrastructural development. So you can go to the next slide. Just by the awareness creation and all, and this intervention, the water quality, bacteriological water quality improved significantly, and we could get the results from the public health centers that all the waterborne diseases have reduced significantly. What I'm trying to tell is, yeah, technology is there, definitely technology is there, but how are we going to reach to the society? So that is one thing. And another thing, when we talk about that one, can you please go to the thing? There are many underprivileged communities. Slums. Any city you go, slums are there, and you know that many facilities are not there. Water is not there, waste management is not there, and they are getting whatever water is supplied, and many times it is not getting treated or anything. And all of them, most of them will be having all type of diseases. So we were looking into, next slide please. We were looking into affordable technologies. No rocket science, but yes, lot of technology intervention. We thought that we are the most brilliant people to develop the technology, but whatever the technology we developed, nothing they agreed upon, because they were coming up with some problems. One is too big, otherwise the flow rate is not sufficient, because they wanted to get 20 liters of water in half an hour. So with their involvement, we have developed some filters to use it, and we have supplied to around 600 houses, and they were using, and it improved their health and well-being significantly. What I'm trying to tell is, technology may not be too much, but it has an impact. Can you go to the next one? So this is another thing, everybody will go and drill the well, but we may not be getting the water. So what is the best way to find out the locations of well, and how can we make them sustainable? Because when we invest something, it should be sustainable. So we have done many places this type of things, extensive hydrogeological investigations, and based upon that one, find out the appropriate locations for wells and all the things. Again, all these things are funded by CSR. And another one is sustainable village. When we talk about sustainable village with respect to hygiene and health, we have to manage water. Enough water should be there, but unless we manage the waste, water will not be good. So we have to have water and waste management. So we have done 5 panchayats. And this also was funded by many like you people. We got a lot of funding, around 10 crore project we got it. Yeah, you can just flash through the, all these things we did. Yeah, just go through. Yeah, go. Here also technology is there, because we developed composting, everybody knows. But we did the research and developed the compost so that the time can be reduced significantly. Usually 40 days, 45 days, we could do it in 18 days. So naturally the area will be reduced, and the quality is meeting the international standard. And we were able to sell all the compost and was able to generate enough income. And another one is small bore system, not the sewer system, and constructed wetland type of a thing, which is very sustainable. We don't have no need of energy, no need of any other chemicals or anything. So yeah, you please go ahead, go. And yeah, and another thing is, okay, village, yeah, that is our, okay, most important thing. Okay, so we thought that unless we develop the village, okay, nothing is going to happen. So village development means overall development of the village. We have done extensive work, and this also by, okay, CPCL, they have given around 15 crore, and they got the Golden Peacock Award also for the CSR activities, whatever we have done. What I'm trying to tell is, when we wanted to do the water sector, okay, so much is there to be done, and it is having a lot of impact. Just flash through the pictures. Yeah, you. Okay, that's all I wanted to, yeah. You can see that, see, we have constructed because they were having the Swachh Bharat, okay, toilets, okay, but many people were not using, because I am not blaming the government. Yes, they did a very good job, because otherwise nobody was talking about sanitation. But what was happening is, many times the construction quality was not good, and another thing is water was not available. Unless water is available, nobody will use. So what we do, and many times when we went and interacted with the people, they told that not only toilet, we want a bathroom also, because when the ladies, okay, we want the privacy. So we constructed bathroom cum toilet for them. Yeah, and okay, everywhere we have provided the water tanks for the toilet, and not only water tanks, we have provided complete water supply system for the villages, whatever we have done, so that all the toilets and bathrooms are being used. Yeah, go ahead. And okay, any village, their heart is the water source. So everywhere, okay, especially in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, you will be having lot of water bodies, and their conditions are very, very bad. So we have done lot of water body regeneration. In this, okay, 4 villages itself, there were some 24 ponds. Okay, they extend, aerial extent of 1 acre to 4 acres. We have regenerated everything, and we have put infiltration wells and to improve the quality of water and all the things. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Lily, for that. I think water is very, very important. I guess given the climate change, and especially in the times of the population that's growing at the speed, I think it's time that we need to look at water as more a priority. While we are talking about sustainable housing and the water, it's important that we talk about the larger environment. So we have here Indu, who is going to share, while it's integrated with her area of interest, creating sustainable engineers. We would like to hear from you more around environment, and especially an area especially that you talk about, the climate challenge. It will be nice to hear about your thoughts, what you have been doing, and the climate challenge itself. If you can share a bit more about it.
So, I work along with Liji in the Environmental Engineering Division of Civil Engineering Department. So, for a long time, we heard a lot about water, wastewater implementation in rural and urban setups. Most of the time, we find that environment challenges are much beyond water. We look at waste, materials, soil, energy. These are all the 5 different components of environment. Like, we can talk about it as the Panchabhutas of environment. And environment technologies, particularly for the industries, has always been a challenge. Whether meeting their effluent quality discharge limits or bringing in safe water for their process. There's a lot of technology involved, and most of the time we use technology only from abroad. We look at always technology solutions from abroad. So with a lot of government push being made in Make in India initiatives, Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that, there is a need for innovation and entrepreneurship in the area of environment and sustainable development. So this prompted us to look at programs which can actually involve young minds to innovate and become entrepreneurs in the area of environment and sustainable development. So we see a lot of startups coming up in the IT space, in the commerce space, e-commerce and all that. So, but very few technologies and startups are coming up in the environment domain. So, in the last since 2017, we have been running this contest called Carbon Zero Challenge. I would request you to go to the 3rd slide. So these are intros about the environmental challenges. I don't want to go about it. Let's go directly. There is a huge potential for clean tech innovations and clean tech market space in our country. Some of these innovations have come from IIT. Please go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the Carbon Zero Challenge competition I was talking about. So we are looking at innovations in, next slide. Yeah. We are looking at innovations in multiple sectors: agriculture, transportation, water, waste management, industry, and technologies for urban areas, including housing and sanitation. So basically, we look, it's an all India contest. We throw the challenge open. We don't, it's an open ended problem. People can choose there are lots of challenges, and we have information on what are the challenges in all these 5 different domains. So the teams can pick whatever challenge they choose to work on and present their ideas to the committee. And we choose about 25 teams, promising teams, who can build innovative solutions and who have the potential to build startups. So it's a very arduous task, because we end up getting 1,000 or more applications to shortlist from, and we bring it down to 25, which can be funded. So the uniqueness about this competition is that we fund these teams to build sizable prototypes, because industry or the user will only appreciate technologies when they see it working at a scale large enough. Most of the time we end up doing R&D and develop technology in the lab for our research, and it's mostly proof of concept stage. And industry doesn't really have a feel of this going into a large scale plant. So the concept of this competition is to build these sizable prototypes, and as I told you, they are all geared towards environment, saving the environment, addressing the sustainable development goals. So all these are the metrics we ask the team to come up with as they build this technology. So they should tell us how much carbon footprint or water footprint reductions are enabled, how much material consumption is reduced, is there a circular economy concept built in? So it's not just treatment, but it should also involve recovery. So moving from linear way of flow of materials and water to the circular flow of materials and water. So all these are requirements, and so it's a very challenging competition. We give them 6 months to build the prototype. And during the 6 months, we also train them to become entrepreneurs. They understand how to develop a business plan, how to measure these sustainability metrics, and show that it is a sustainable technology. So at the end of totally 3 months for shortlisting, 6 months for building the prototype, all the prototypes are brought to IIT Madras, where a jury investigates and looks at how are they really working technologies as they claim. And finally, we select about 3 to 5 teams which can be funded to become a startup. So this has been a very successful venture. We have done 2 rounds of Carbon Zero Challenge so far, and we have 50 prototypes, working prototypes. I'm happy some of them I have it on the slide, but one is the plastic pyrolysis, which came out of our lab, converting all the multi-layered single-use plastics which have no recyclability to oil. We could recover about 60 to 70% oil. And one technology which the director mentioned, the RoboCell, we're also happy to say that they were also funded through Carbon Zero Challenge. Similarly, across India, we have funded 50 prototypes. I'm happy to say that we have got most of these technology ended up getting patents, and we also have about 5 to 6 startups which came out of the Carbon Zero Challenge program. And we hope to have many more such programs with the help of CSR support. This was again fully funded by CSR. Virtusa Polaris was the company which supported us in this initiative, along with the US Consulate of Chennai, which gave us a seed grant. So I would like to stop here, and if you're interested, I can go through some of the technologies. Yeah, the slides, as you see here, these are all the technologies which came out: plastic pyrolysis, sustainable lighting for like workshops, sustainable and innovative cooling solutions where they had this circulating pipes through the wall panels which could reduce 30% of the energy cost for cooling. So step recorder, this is an electrochemical treatment using solar powered units. Then there is a agriculture-based U-Farm startup which looks at indoor farming, particularly targeting hotels like this, which can grow their own greens. So there are many more technologies. We can share the information with you.
I'll take 3 more minutes just to ask each one of you. I'll begin with Indu. Given the audience here, what would be the takeaway or specific ask that you have from the audience, or they want to reach out to it? If you can speak for a minute about what they should come and ask you for.
So, so this is a large mega project which we did, but there are a lot of other smaller initiatives which can be funded. Like as I said, going from linear to circular in any industry is a challenge. No, we need, we work on multiple technologies through our research scholars in our labs on different industries, effluent treatment. We look at accelerated composting systems. So these are all small technologies. Particularly, we would like to take our PhD research from just our labs and publications and thesis, just ending up there, to actually the real world, solving real world problems. So there are a lot of steps in between to take each of these innovations which are happening in our labs to the field. And so if there is anything which we could present a list of research R&D which is being developed in IIT Madras, and if you choose to take any of them to a larger scale, that is one such opportunity which we would like the corporates to offer. Or even under like innovation contest like this, we have like 5 different themes. If you choose to pick one sector like water or waste or materials or even soil, now there is Save Soil movement is happening all over the world. So each of these domains, we have technology solutions, and we need the support of corporates to take these solutions to the field and scale it up. Whether it is just innovation scale up, or if you want to support startups, to build startups and work with the startups, we are open to any kind of a partnership with the corporates.
Thanks, Indu. I think I'll move quickly to Liji. In a minute, if you could, if someone wants to associate what you have been doing in the area of water, what would be those?
Anything to do with water or wastewater, either it is domestic, industrial, groundwater, surface water, pond, anything you wanted to make it potable, treatable, 100% recycle. Okay, we have done it in our campus in the Chennai city. So anything to do with water in any form, okay, we can come up with solutions, sustainable solutions. Okay, so for that you can contact us.
Thanks, Liji. I think over to Professor Radhakshana. Given the audience that you have got and the CSR leads over here, especially in the sustainable housing, what would be your ask from the group?
Yeah, I like what Professor Liji and Indu mentioned. Anything, because this, I don't want to give a specific thing, because if you just walk around, you see concrete everywhere, right? And in your houses also, you will see a lot of problems. Just walk on the roads, you will see potholes. None of the potholes are at the same level as the road, right? Have you seen anyone like that? Very rarely we will see those. So like that, there are a lot of problems. So my answer to Nirbhay's question is, anything associated with concrete, if you find a problem, concrete or houses made out of reinforced concrete systems or any housing units, we have enough expertise in IIT Madras and probably one of the best in the country on concrete technology. So we are open to help in that.
Thank you, Radhakshana. I think it was nice to have Professor Radhakshana, Liji, as well as Indu. Thanks so much for it. It was very insightful to have a discussion. Thanks so much. Over to you, Sweta.
Thank you. Thank you, Nirbhay, for moderating this session, and thank you, professors. Thank you, everybody. And over to the next session, we have it on climate change. I call upon the moderator, Mr. Amit Savarkar. He is head CSR Collins Aerospace. Then we have Professor Shiv Nagendra, Professor Neerav Bhatt, and Professor Arvind Kumar for the session. Now over to you, Amit.
So after Guru Purnima, sitting with so much of gurus here, okay, I'm feeling like privileged one. So okay, we are going to talk about a burning issue of climate change. It's been burning for years together. Probably if we won't stop burning fossil fuel, it will again continue burning. So my journey in climate change, in the school it started, right? Ozone layer depletion, we start writing essays about it. But it really hit me hard in 2006 when I watched a movie, a documentary, Oscar award winning documentary that is by a former US President, Al Gore, An Inconvenient Truth. So nicely given a detailed research on how that ozone layer is depleting, how global warming is happening, and it also gives us solutions at the end. So that hit me hard. So I used that documentary to talk to school children, make my own presentations to them. Second, it again hit me hard in 2016 probably, when Greta shouted, "How dare you?" And everybody like shook up. And very recently, in this year, when IPCC released their assessment report, that temperature probably in next 2 decades may reach out to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that's the gravity of the situation that we have when it comes to climate change. So we are having people here who are going to talk to us. They are experts in each own field. We have here Mr. Arvind, who has done a lot of work in solar cells, reducing the carbon reduction, and even carbon water splitting as well. Okay, so Arvind, would like to understand from you, because carbon is something which is the biggest contributor to global warming or environment as such. So how do you position carbon? Yeah.
So I think I don't have to educate this audience about the ill sides of the carbon dioxide. I think all of us know that. But I just want to scare this audience with some numbers. Actually, that's all I want to do. If you look at this slide, actually, in fact, we are working with a handful of IAS officers, principal secretaries, and a bunch of faculty members at IIT Madras, along with young entrepreneurs, to work on the policy for the Indian government. We work very closely with Niti Aayog. I think that's headed by our research part. So what we kind of concluded is the following. So on one side, CO2 is a very good molecule. That's something that keeps this earth warm, right? And at the same time, when you try to increase the CO2 beyond some range, it really like damages the whole climate situation. So this is just the Indian situation. In year 2022, we were emitting somewhere around 3.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which is roughly 10% of world's emission, right? And we all talk about going to net zero. And this net zero is a very vicious word, being, are we going to cut this only 3.3 billion tons? And the answer is, if yes, we are fooling ourselves, because based on the economic growth, population growth, projected energy consumption increase, we are expected to emit somewhere around 10.2 billion tons. This is increasing at a 4.6% increase every year. By 2047, which is 100 years from independence, we will be emitting 10.2 billion tons. Meaning, even if we want to keep the emission constant as we are emitting today, we should not build any new CO2 emitting infrastructure. And is that possible? I think we are only talking too much about we are going to cut it today, but the answer is it's impossible to do. Are we going to cut down our petrol and diesel-based vehicles? Cut down on our coal-based emission power plants? Answer is no. The reason is we don't have the alternate technologies which are fairly mature that can take up right away, although electric vehicles are coming up. And it's not like even like 1% of the overall vehicle market now, right? And in fact, there are many hard to abate sectors, cement factories, like CO2 is going to be emitted. And there are steel factories, ammonia production systems, where CO2 emission is going to be happening. There's no way out. Thing is that we are just looking into newspapers and we're getting so much happy about we're going to cut the CO2 emission. But the reality is far more dangerous. And now, thing is that what we said was, if you go for business as usual, I think, as Amit pointed out, it's going to be within 1 year we're going to shoot that 1.5 degrees up, and I think we cannot stop it. So on one side we want a healthy environment, other side we want to keep the economic safe, right? So what we kind of proposed is multiple interventions, and we said partial intervention is possible, meaning we can use the existing technologies now and try to immediately implement in the system right away. And then there are other technologies which are at low TRLs, I mean technology readiness levels, which are at the lab scale. We can push them to the next level in the next 5 to 10 years. By the time in 2047, we can keep a lot of technologies ready. I'll talk more about it as we progress. And that will help us from 2047 to 2070, which is India's net zero goal. We can seriously work on 100% implementation from 2047 to 2070. And as Professor Mahesh Panjagnola mentioned, technology intervention is serious. There are some places where technology is available. There are many places technology is not available in the market, but they are available in the lab scale. I think we need to push them up. And that is what I want to just introduce to this audience about the whole CO2 thing, and we will discuss more as we go along. Thanks, Amit.
Thank you for scaring us enough, Arvind. See, the challenge that we have, we want to be a 5 trillion economy, and we know China, our neighbor, has grown to the level on the back of manufacturing. All across the world, people are developing technology and they're manufacturing in China. So if we have started creating manufacturing hubs, CO2 is going to go rise. Okay, so probably we have to look at sustainable solutions to address even that. Okay, so we have with us Nirav. He's from biotechnology department, but has done a lot of work on giving smart infrastructure, because just now we spoke about concretes, okay, and how that is that we have to address that, creating smart buildings and all that. But we want to understand from you how AI and ML is actually helping us creating a smart infrastructure.
Thanks. Is it working?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll start with the first question which he talked about, is the climate change and how we can actually intervene. When I look at the climate change, we get analogy from mathematical modeling we call trying to, 6 blind men trying to understand an elephant. And the climate change is the same way. If I can show you that it's not only about CO2 emission, it's also about understanding how climate is affecting other way of life. For example, there are a lot of droughts are happening. There are a lot of heat waves are happening. And just blackouts. So last week I was reading an article that Californian energy officials announced because of unexpected heat waves in the California, we'll have a lot of blackout because we do not have enough energy plants to actually produce enough energy. And that is just because they decided to go green. Suddenly they decided to shut down all the fossil fuel based plants. Every Californian has actually, not every, but most of them bought electrical vehicle, and now it looks like they are going to burn more fossil fuel to actually get out of blackouts. So the point is, can we actually use whatever we have? How to actually use what we do actually is try to understand the resources we have, try to understand in general how the different systems like power grids, transportation networks, which are now slowly is going to be part of power grid thanks to electrical vehicles, as well as some of our colleagues works on the water distribution networks to try to understand the effect, how we can actually use efficiently water to actually do agriculture resources, how we can bring technology to be food secure when the climate change will hit us. Because by changing CO2, what we call in dynamical systems is that we have I think 150 to 300 ppm level in last 100 years, and now it is around 400 ppm. will it goes to 300 ppm if we actually go to the any solution what he was providing, or we'll reach to the 400 ppm. If we reach at 400 ppm or swing around it, we need a better way of doing agriculture so that we can actually avoid or actually mitigate the effect of droughts or even floods in the future. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nirav. I think the hardest hit because of the climate change is the poorest community that we have, because of their limitations on the coping skill that's required over there. And I got fascinated when artificial intelligence and machine learning gets into even doing all that rural and agriculture activities. On a lighter note, sometimes I feel that today to kids we taught them like A is for apple, B for ball, C for cat, and D for dog. Maybe going forward, probably looking at all these technology-related interventions that I have seen since morning, probably we have to teach them A is for artificial intelligence, B for blockchain, C for cloud computing probably, D for data science, and E for electric vehicle. Gadkari sir will be very happy to, if we taught them like this. Okay, but we have with us Nagendra ji, want to understand from you, because you have done a lot of work on creating the models for air pollution, measuring them, even controlling them, and also creating some solutions around it. So how about air pollution? How do it position in whole climate change space?
Yeah. So namaste to all of you, and good evening. Just to how many of us will be guilt about contributing to the climate change? Because all of us, maybe one or the other way, today we traveled, we contributed, and of course this Bangalore traffic is good, forcing us to not to use the vehicles and making us to come to metro, and then as a result we will reduce some carbon footprint. That's a good point. Then coming back, I just thought just this some question keep revolving in my mind. CSR, corporate social responsibility. I thought why environment is missing here. I don't know, just like a news, you are also making to address my voice so that it will not vary. Okay, the corporate social responsibility is good, but why environment is missing? Because I don't know whether we don't care for environment. I start thinking about the environment. The children are connected, and probably the older, the aged one also connected, and probably us maybe not very well connected with the environment, and because we always driving towards getting more economics, and I am sure that all of you are having a very good business, but now we are seeing that there is an interesting thing which the dean's office has started giveaway. I mean, so this connecting back, the giveaway is something which struck my mind to looking at the corporate social responsibility is all the industries should look at it, how do we give back? But the reason is, how do we keep the entire ecosystem, our presence need? The social responsibility is like the industry should get, for example, as an IIT, we are also looking for a very bright kid to come to our system so that the more and more innovative things can happen. Of course, you're going to contribute larger to the society. So in that context, each of these industries should also make their presence in terms of not only business, in terms of how they take care of the environment and social. That is more important. Coming back, and all of us agree that when I say that entire Bangalore city, we are jealous about this city, because although I'm coming from this city. Thing is, I thought we provide air conditioner to our own office space, but your entire city is air conditioned. So as a result, I just look at it, a lot of air pollution problem could be more, because of the large construction activities and also the vehicles, of course, the resuspended dust. These are all some issues which we come across. To address this problem, this is what I thought maybe as a social responsibility. How do you would like to present? How do you see that? How do we connect the society in terms of addressing this problem? So probably we need to give some kind of an awareness, or we need to give some kind of a technology which is a local and more meaningful in using it. So we come out with some kind of a technology which what we thought, you may be knowing that the early morning you will see our corporation people will sweep the entire road, and during that process, although of course they clean the road, but during that process they generate a lot of dust into the air. And we felt that rather than cleaning, they will also contribute more air pollution system back to this, the environment. So we come out with a technology, and it is more, you can also, think of having this small unit to each of this ward, or maybe your own local area, or maybe in your own industry itself, and then probably it can be a solution to address the road dust problem. The second one is, as the others were mentioning about the technology, and technology is the new word, and it helped us a lot, and particularly this pandemic has made us to, forced us to, otherwise I was not aware of many of my gadget to use it. My daughters are very quick in using it, but I learned many things because of this technology, which, the opportunity which made us to happen. So these air quality monitoring instruments are available, and they are very quick in reporting the information, and maybe you can use them for providing the local air quality informations. It's a very cost effective. I don't want to call it as a low cost. I mean, there is no point. It's only kind of an how do we afford it? How do we make it more meaningful, bringing out this technology to the to the local community. I'll stop now. Maybe if you have quick other questions, we'll come back.
Yeah, thank you, Nagendra. So we'll inform BBMP to stop sweeping in the morning now, okay, because it creates a lot of dust. But having said that, we have to address on both way. One is employment, probably we have to clean the roads also and stop that dust also. So it has to be, solution has to be fair on all the aspects, I would say. Okay. So coming back to you, can you tell us, some of the interventions that you have done, some solutions that you have developed, implemented, and also has seen some of the impact on the ground? Can you share some?
Yeah, sure. Can I steal your mic? Thank you. Great. So coming back, I'm going to connect with what I've talked before. So like what we kind of expect now to go to net zero or reduce the carbon emissions is that there are like 3 levels of interventions required. One is there are technologies that are readily available at the moment, and we have to start implementing them right away. There are technologies which I call them as the technology readiness level above 6 or 7. And there are certain technologies which are already kind of scaled up in the laboratories, which are at technology readiness level 4 and 5. They need to be pushed into the piloting stage, then eventually to the implementation. And there are some technologies which are either ideation at the ideation stage or concept has been proven, right? So the first one, the first one which I talked about, technology is available, it's about implementation. I think that is one aspect that I'm going to talk about now. And there is also a second aspect where the product scale-up has happened and it has to go to the market in a very short time. That's where I think the industries have to play a phenomenal role. Whereas the third aspect of it, which is the ideation or at the very initial stage, still companies can fund, but it is predominantly government-driven initiative because it has to be like a kind of some sort of prototype has to be shown in the hand that Indu talked about at the beginning, like we need to have some sort of prototype in the hand. First, let me talk about the higher TRL that we have implemented at IIT Madras. And can we go back to the previous one, Padma? Yeah. Next one. No, the other way.
Scary slide or?
No, next one. Yes, great. So, yes, this one. So, for example, we all know that we have solar panels. Like, for example, if I want to make my house 100% green, technology is available. I have batteries. We have solar panels. We have associated electronics. What is stopping me? Like, there are some technical issues out there too. But then the implementation part is fairly difficult because the conventionally lead acid, they are the ones which are conventionally being used for energy storage. But now, the mass production of electric vehicles is going to dump a phenomenal amount of lithium-ion batteries into the market in 5 years down the line. Those batteries will not die, will not have zero life by the time the vehicles are going to be dumped. They'll still have 60 to 70% of life left. Meaning, those can be used for non-space constraint applications like stationary storage. And we took that as a prerequisite. Imagine there's going to be 1 million vehicles dumped in next 5 years. And what are those batteries? I'm going to dump the batteries which still has 70% of life in it? Answer should be no. I mean, we should use them so that the cost of the batteries will go down if I use the batteries for 10 years. But then you will not see a lithium-ion battery in any housing application so far. So what we have done was, this is a project, CSR project funded by L&T Technology Services. And we converted a chemical engineering laboratory building, which where my labs and my offices are. My office is, like, it's not I shouldn't use the word, it makes sense that I have like too many offices. So we converted that entire building, every common walkway, corridors, everything into grid independent system. Every corridor is powered by a different battery technology, and each of them is a technology used in the electric vehicles. Everyone uses different chemistry, different configuration. And this building is like 100% grid independent, like all the common walkways are 100% grid independent. And we finished this whole project in 3 months. Sometimes CSR always has a worry that how fast you can finish the project. And we started in January 1st, we finished on March 31st, fantastic. And we did trial for 1 month. On May 11th, L&T Technology Services CEO inaugurated this whole thing up there. And I can monitor on my mobile phone and how much of energy that's being consumed. Let me see if I can, it's a real-time thing. Let me see if I can open that app right away. So, you know, what you've done is, we want to know if there is any issue. I don't want to keep sitting there and then watching it. I want to literally make sure that I can monitor the problems right away sitting in my, wherever I am. And yesterday also there was an issue, and it's running now live. So I know what are the solar panels. So it's doing, you know, the thing what we want to do from here is, can we take it to all the buildings in the country? Can we do that? Can we have a common monitoring stations? I think that is the biggest aspect that I think we can implement right away. If you're very serious about net zero emissions, this is the kind of area, grid independent buildings, or it can be grid connected also. I'm not saying it has to be 100% grid independent. And that's one. And can we go to the next one, Padma? Great. The energy storage has become a phenomenal issue now. Lithium-ion batteries, I think India kind of woke up a bit late in terms of investing in technologies, especially energy storage. China, Korea, Japan, US, Europe has gone far away. Even if you try to compete on lithium-ion batteries now, we don't have space available. And in our laboratory, we developed metal air batteries, which are at the lab scale level, are 1/5 of the price of commercial lithium-ion batteries at the moment. And we have developed the technology, successfully demonstrated. And we can see that there's a lot of news came out. That's one of the prototypes. Thing is that if you're going to go for mass implementation of the battery technology, energy storage, because one thing that we always talk about is, so far, energy is coming from a centralized location, power stations. Now, as we go to the net zero, sun and wind are the two energy sources we have. They are decentralized, meaning storage has to be used, and they are diurnal, time dependent, and we need to store them, and storage has to be affordable if you want to go for net zero thing. I think any social cost we do, if it is not sustainable in the long run, it's not at all worth doing. I think we are very clear about that aspect, and we kind of believe, and that's what led us to work on like next generation low cost battery technology. This uses nothing, like entire technology is developed in our laboratory, like end to end, and we have that. And this is one thing that we did. And with these, and we also work on carbon dioxide capture, utilization, and storage. I have my colleague, Professor Preeti Agalayam. She's head of our carbon capture center. So we are working on full length. If you want to do the sequestration, we have a team to do it. If you want to convert carbon dioxide to value-added fuels, we can do it. If you want to capture carbon dioxide and keep it for yourself or whatever you want to do, we have people to do that. So in any aspect of net zero thing, you can like IIT Madras is well equipped to do it. I think I took a bit more than what I should. Thanks, Amit.
Thank you so much. You know to whom you have to reach out to in a break time. Okay. Neeraj, we want to understand from you now is how the energy utilization on even the AI ML things that you have used in agriculture, honeycomb, one of the project that I have seen. Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
So, yeah. No. First one, I'll come to that part also later. Yeah. The first one which I showed. Yeah. So, this slide has a two-part. First part which I talked about earlier. The second part is about how we can actually do mitigation and adaptation. What actually Arvind talked about, how you can integrate and monitor. Now we want to go beyond that. We collect a lot of data, like he's collecting, we are collecting in a power grid a lot of data. Even for the transportation, we are collecting data using simple robots. And in water distribution, which also work with the water center, a colleague of mine, he also collects a lot of data. And one of the questions we asked that can we actually take this data and come up with a solution which can be go across all these important infrastructures. Because one of the problem is that power grid independently think about their solutions, transportations are thinking about their solution. Of course, in a like Western world, since EV has come into play, they are thinking of combining them. But yet, as I told you, just example of California, they are still figuring out how to use that. Some of those EV for storage during the day. And again, water distribution is again a network which is going to consume a lot of power if we try to actually formalize it. And what we do is we are coming up with the methods. So we are actually, I would call it maintaining and operational people. We are actually come up with a tech solution where we want to ensure that if once infrastructure is built, how to maintain it well. If there is a leak in a water distribution or there is a line which is not efficient, you will not believe Indian energy power grid is almost like a 70% efficient. And if you compare with Singapore where the loss is only 2%. So our technical plus non-technical is basically stealing. Losses are 30%. And the technical losses we can actually reduce by doing proper maintenance. And we do not have a way to actually maintain that. And what we are trying to do is use data to figure it out what lines are actually poor, how to maintain time to time. Same with for the infrastructure also we are doing it. And our approach is to harness the data, use that along with the system, and try to ensure that we have a solution which can be used not for today, but tomorrow and adaptive in the nature. Because what we are looking is that 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, what will be the infrastructure, and are we ready? Like Californians were not ready, and they implement the policy. So can we actually, when we want to implement the policy, we can go along with the mitigation, so we can actually reduce the brownouts. We are used to brownouts, but same with the water. I'm lucky to be in IIT Madras, thanks to Lizzie's group. But outside, if you see, the water scarcity is the problem, not in Chennai or even Bangalore. Even my parents live in Gujarat, where Narmada is flowing 24/7. They still have a problem last couple of years ago because of the climate change. So the point is, what we try to do is how to use resources effectively using the data, because today we are collecting huge amount of data and we don't know what to do with that. And our group actually, we have a small center funded by Government of India called Prospective Center for Network Systems, which include the colleague from chemical engineering, electrical, even some mechanical colleagues. Try to understand how we can actually use this data to have an efficient and maintainable infrastructure which lasts long, which is, I think, some of the pain Professor Radhakrishnan was also talking about. We build the things, but we do not maintain it. Can we actually do that? Is the answer we are doing it. And we are happy to talk about different projects which we are working on in the lab. Another project which is about AI/ML for good. Can you go to the slide? Yeah, this is a serendipity. The colleague of mine, Professor Sridhar Kumar Nashiv in chemical engineering, and we are discussing about bees and bee hive in one of our center, which is the Robert Bosch Center. And we, at that time, we found out that in 2020, there are huge articles about honey adulteration. And it has a lot more impact than you and I think as a consumer. Because of honey adulteration, many farmers have stopped doing the honey farming because it's not economical for them. And it has, again, food chain effect in terms of pollinations, crop, and those aspects. And then we actually got together and see, can we solve this problem? And we found out some couple of solutions. Some of the solutions are there, but not cost effective for a country like India. So one solution which, just to tell you that this is a simple machine which is for actually finding out honey quality, which is typically you have to, if you in India, if you want to do it, you have to send the samples to Germany. Brooker can actually certify that your honey is not adulterated. because we do not have any standards in India for honey. We do not have a database, so you cannot do it. So what we are trying to do is, can we actually use a very simple equipment, I mean, what I call not simple, it is costly, but still not as costly as other equipment. Can we use that to do honey testing for Indian honey, try to get characterized Indian honey, and also we are working on building our own spectrometers to handle spectrometers, which can actually rapidly identify on-site honey detection. Now, where the AI comes into play, the thing is that some of these signals are very poor. And so you cannot that easily use standard methods. So Sridhar and I have been working in AI for last 2 decades. So we said, can we actually come up with the method? It's our domain. Can we come up with the method to solve those problems? So a couple of students are working on those area. And when we actually work very closely with Rural Technology Action Group, RUTEC, who actually help us to connect with a couple of farmers and bee growers in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And we couple of times sent students to actually interact with them. And one of these trip, a student told that, sir, these are too advanced for them. They say, can you actually tell me what is the Brix value of my honey? Or what is the water content in my honey which I produce? Because that if you have some moisture content more than that, it is not actually as per the Indian food and drug standards. So you have to actually heat it to actually make it less, or what you call in the limit which is permissible. It has its own implications. So they have that problem. And we saw that as an opportunity, and we created a very cheap Brix meter, which actually not allow you to tell you what is the Brix moisture value, but it also tells you what is the sugar content. And it has a lot of impact because harvesting is one of the biggest issue in the agriculture, when to harvest, given the lot of problems with environment. Now climate changes, for example, in the mango, I know some mango growers who lost their crop because of unseasonal rain. So we are trying to see, can we actually use that to actually come up with some standard for harvesting, whether the particular fruits is harvestable or not. And of course, it is a non-destructive. Typical Brix meters are available are destructive, so you have to squeeze and figure it out. This is non-destructive. So this kind of work we are doing to actually bring technology to smart agriculture. And if you have any other questions, I'm ready to answer. Thanks.
Thank you, Niro. Country looks at economic growth, and that can only happen through probably, because it's always a discussion that, if we look at the return on an investment, that agriculture is not that affordable that way, okay? Whether manufacturing and IT is. But does such kind of solutions, if we provide to the farmers, I think such solution will be certainly helpful for them, okay?
Just for information, agriculture is not affordable anywhere in the world.
Yeah, true.
I did not know that. I thought, the Swiss farmers also get subsidies. Yeah. American farmers also gets it. Everyone is getting subsidies. It's not, India is not unique to it.
That's
Just to
reason,
for your information, yeah.
People are traveling to Bangalore, like urbanizing, that's why it's happening. Want to understand, Nagendra?
Sorry, just to interrupt. Last
Go ahead.
5 minutes for the panel. As
Okay.
engaging as the topic is, unfortunately, we to have more panels also.
Yeah, no problem. So, Nagendra, I want to understand from you, what are the solutions, to control the air pollution in a way?
Okay,
Can you talk to us?
maybe you can just go to the slide, because I just wanted to connect. I think Neeraj asked Amit asked a question in the beginning. Air pollution and climate change is a chicken and egg problem, whether climate change influences air pollution or air pollution affecting the climate change. I mean, maybe we'll discuss. Quickly to look at it, we started looking at several aspects. Like currently, the air pollution problem, you look at it indoor. Most of you have corporate, you look for indoor air pollution solution. And now when we start looking at, people are coming, the industry now currently we are exploring to come out with a technology. They wanted to kill mosquitoes. When we had talked about air pollution addressing, they said, okay, why don't we come out with a technology that can address odor problem and mosquito? So we said, we are trying to work out, even fitting into the fan itself, whether fan can act as an air purifier, improving the air and also removing the mosquito things which is happening in the indoor environment. So that is a kind of work, and you can see that how it can fit into your requirement. So next is the road dust collector, and there is something which I said, and I would just want to pick up your points. We don't want to reduce the manpower in any of the corporation or any of the sector. We wanted to support them, and that's why we made it as an individual usable road dust collector, and which is very effective. And we were currently made some experiments at IIT, and it is very effective. Now we could, at construction site, we could be able to reduce 50% of the pollution load which is happening. And all of you know that, I'm sure about, you know about PM10, PM2.5. I'm sure about you are aware of it, because that is another buzzword, you should bring it out, because particulate matter is another thing. So we can use road dust collector. We have an ambient air purifier, and thanks to VGuard as one of the CSR event, they supported this, and we are going to set up this 5 ambient air purifier in Delhi. And they said, and this air purifier, basically it happens in 2 aspects. It also controls the air pollution. It also produces the air quality at that particular area. You don't have to come out with a large scale setting up of monitoring station, but it is having an all affordable sensors which provides an air quality information at the local area. In fact, we were discussing with Karnataka Pollution Control Board and some of the local industries in Bangalore to set up few air quality monitoring stations in Bangalore itself, and probably it will going to happen very soon. So this is again, of course, there is a lot of space available. You can also use it for your own publicity to bring out the representing your own industry aspect. That is also available with this air purifier, and its cost is reasonable. Okay, so that you can contact me, I will disclose that. The other thing is, you all know that if you have a vehicle more than 10 years old, it contributes a lot of exhaust emission. And particularly if you have a office corporate sector, if you have a generator set, when you start and the power goes, when you start a generator set, it produces significant amount of carbon. Okay, so we have come out with an exhaust emission control system. Initially, we started working out with a tailpipe emission control, because I have noticed that all this corporation vehicle which is used for garbage collection, it is more older vehicle, more than 10 years old, and they contribute significant pollution. And our idea is to develop a technology in order to address that particular problem. But later on, when we are working with e-Parisara, you all aware of it? It's one of the well-known e-waste management system, and we did a technology which can work. And it was effective in terms of addressing the generator set problem. So now it has been very effectively, we started using with major generator set emission control. And the third one is the local sensor-based air quality monitoring system. This is one of our pet project where we wanted to set up. I think we have set up already in Malaysia and Thailand. We are getting an air quality information in different countries. We wanted to check, we wanted to show our presence in the different countries and also use that information to reflect what is an air quality in different country when compared to our own locations. And we wanted to make this air quality information network across different rural areas. And in fact, we want to thank Rameshwaram as a Vivekananda's Kendra, who supported one of the such air quality monitoring system in Rameshwaram. So we did something. Now we are at most now we have close to some 50 air quality monitoring sensors we have set up across the country. Now we are moving towards going to the different rural areas. In particularly, we started doing it in Karnataka, in some of the places, and also in some of the places in Tamil Nadu. We are more open to that. And apart from that, if you are interested to take up some of the work in rural area, we have, go to the next slide quickly. So we have, this is a kind of information, it will be made available, it will be available to your own website, your own, whatever the gadget, I think you are all aware of it, anything, if data is available, it can reach out to the any ways. So this is something which we are going to set up at IIT in Chennai Air Quality Monitoring Network. Next. Okay, there's one more slide, is there? Okay, go to the next. Next. Yeah, this is something which maybe as a corporate responsibility, we thought we should also empower the human children's in the rural area or in the community. Mayor, if you wanted to come out with some of the things, I'm sure that Vignesh will going to talk about a lot of things which is available, and our dean also can suggest many things that IIT can offer. So we have a quick with newsletters, we have videos which can also enables you to come out. And we also have a network, and you are most welcome to participate in any of these things, and we have wider opportunities available to make your corporate social responsibility social and environmental responsibility more effective. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sangeetanji, for sharing all this information with us. Do we have time for question and answer? One?
Maybe we'll take questions for all the panels.
Later? Okay. See, this is such a burning problem of climate change. But do we have hope? I think we certainly have, because we have such kind of solutions which IT has developed, and that's why everybody is sitting here to understand that. But hope is not just enough. We have to take action. We have to make some choices, genuine choices. And out of that sustainable development goals, one which I like the most is goal number 17. It's called partnerships. Okay, I think this is a platform for us to actually partner among ourselves, look at which solutions can be used in the projects that all the CSR and corporates are doing, and certainly meet with those people here during the break and try to understand more and look at which solutions can fit into the CSR policy of your company. Okay, and it was nice to sit among, and I am feeling like a student sitting on the professors here. Okay, so thank you for sharing all this information with all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Just to remind you that professor also learns in the class when we are interacting with the student.
Thank you to all of you here. So we go for a small tea break for 10 minutes. Thanks for this, very nice. Yeah, we'll be back at sharp 6.
To our next panel. So this is a special panel because it's an all-women panel with Professor Mahesh moderating it. No, the rest of the panel is an all-women panel. So the panel is on diversity, equity and inclusion, women in STEM. Professor Indumati Nambi and Professor Liji Philip to please come to the stage.
Get started. I want this to be this is a very important panel, and a panel that is very close to our hearts in terms of where we should be going. I'll just frame the problem in 30 seconds. At IIT today, we have 18% women students in our undergrad programs, and about a little less than 30% women students across all degree programs of IIT Madras. The feeder pipeline into all of these programs, which is the high school system, across the country, by and large, is at nearly 50-50. If you take the Tamil Nadu school system, a CBSE school system, any local state board, the fraction of women students graduating to boys would be roughly 1:1. Clearly there is a problem. And this problem percolates even deeper when you go into the workforce. And the reason we need to solve this problem is very simple. It's because there is diversity in thinking, diversity in the way problems are approached. There is all kinds of very scientific research that shows how a multi-gender team is far more successful than a single-gender team for any given task. So we are ultimately losing out on diversity of thought and possible solutions by not engineering multi-gender teams. So I want to start by asking Preeti, and then we'll come back the other way. Simple question. Where is the problem in having our graduates transition into workforce and high school students transitioning into college environments?
It's a good question, not with a simple answer, I don't think. At least I don't think I'm capable of providing a very quick answer that can be solved in this room. It starts with societal perceptions, I would say, and also the kind of environments that we create in our, maybe particularly in our workspaces. How welcoming are they for women? How inclusive are they for women, and how do we feel when we rub shoulders with you? Some of us, I think, do quite well. Some of us are very combative. At least 2 on this stage are famous for that kind of combative attitude. Don't know if that's right or wrong, but apart from that, if you take the average population, I think a lot more needs to be done from all of us. I'm not putting men on the spot and saying there's something that you have to do. All of us have to do much better in being aware that we are 50% of the we are the same species. I'm sure you'll agree that Arvind and I are the same species, and being colleagues, it's a pleasure to be Arvind's colleague, and I hope he'll say the same as well. So having teams like this, and we work really well together as a team as well, and having teams like this is important for all of us. Recognition of that and specific policies and measures to ensure that we do this more often than not is necessary. One thing that I do want to mention, that this sounds very sort of vague, and how do we go about it? One thing I do want to mention is collecting data, gender disaggregated data as it's called, is very important, because when people look at numbers such as the ones that Mahesh talked about just a second ago, I think the problem crystallizes in people's heads very well. So with that, I'll pass it on to others in the stage.
Thank you, Preeti. Professor Liji Philip was the first woman faculty member in the Department of Civil Engineering at IIT Madras, and also the first woman dean at IIT Madras in 60 years of IIT Madras. Not a fact we are proud of. It took a Liji Philip to take root for us to do this. So I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Mahesh. Yeah, I agreed to be here only 3 minutes back, so I don't have any thoughts arranged for these questions. But what I feel is the society and the so-called value system of our country or the nation is responsible for a quite lot for what is happening. For example, when after the degree or something like that, somebody get married. Even now Indian society feels that it is the women's responsibility to take care of the family, the kids, and the elders. Almost everywhere it is happening. If somebody does the other way, lot of bad comments comes. I can tell it from my own experience and our own colleagues and others who is in field. So that is one thing. And another thing is, as Preeti told, the working environment, it is not that conducive. And when, another question what Mahesh was asking, why from high school they are not coming into the professional field? Again, the societal thing, they feel that women means teaching or some clerical job or bank job, that is the, or secretarial post, that is the most suitable job for them. Engineers or doctors also society accepts, but engineers going with a hat and this one and standing in the field or in the factory, nobody can even imagine, because I was hearing somewhere, one person was talking about, when we select the toys itself, why always Barbie doll for girls? Why can't it be building blocks and other things? So in the household, that level onwards, we have to change the attitude. Otherwise, nothing is going to change whatever we do from the top. That's what my opinion.
We'll come back, Liji. I think, Indu has been championing the idea of entrepreneurship. She talked of one of the startups. I think it's an all-women startup. I was part of the judging team. Certainly, there are things that, that where they think differently. So I want to hear your experience of working with that team, and what does it take to grow more of those kinds of teams?
Thank you, Mahesh. Yeah, when it comes to entrepreneurship, we all know that it is very challenging, whether it is male or female. Even more, I would say, for female, for all the reasons what my colleagues here have said. But I mean, working with this team has been quite successful for me, because they were part of my own research scholars. They were doing a PhD with me, and so we had already been working together. And they were very motivated, participated, apart from their research, they participated in this Carbon Zero, and eventually they won the Carbon Zero contest and went on to create a startup. Successfully, still a couple of them are still part of it, but some of them, I mean, the challenges they face particularly is the endurance. how long can you go without a salary? Any startup, I think, faces the same challenge. Until you take off, no, there is always the pressure. Particularly if they start as PhD scholars, they are already at 25, 26. No, it's the same thing for any other career also. At this point of time, women are also having the responsibility of starting a family. Maybe they're already married, okay? And so this clash between the personal responsibilities at family responsibilities and career responsibilities is a huge challenge for all women, with whatever career path they choose, whether it is. And here with a less salary or even no salary, entrepreneurship is a much bigger challenge unless there is a spouse to support. No, or no, nowadays the government of India is coming up with a lot of schemes for women entrepreneurs. So we really need to chase those kind of funds and keep the whole startup going, at least for them to survive, if not make a luxurious living. But it has been very, very satisfying experience working because they are very motivated, committed towards the goal, and they, what we achieved together as a team was at a much faster pace than the other teams, I would say. So, yeah.
Thanks, Indu. You know, as I think Goldman Sachs runs a very long-standing women entrepreneurship program through their CSR. I think the impact that investing CSR in gender-related issues is again one of those multiplicative, it results in multiplicative impact. So I want to now pivot around and talk about, we have about 30 plus companies here in the audience who have come to hear of how CSR can be deployed and deployed well. So I want to hear each of your thoughts on where CSR can help gender parity. So let's start with the college level as to what is it that, where is it that CSR can help in college, at college level education or maybe slightly thereafter. Preeti, you want to start us off on that?
Actually, let me pivot the question a little bit. If you talk about the female labor force participation at this point, it's obviously, you know, that number is small in India. Thankfully, it's grown a little bit in the past couple of years for whatever reason. It had gone down, but it's picked up this year, I believe. It's at some 22% or so. But what is telling is that, of course, it's the way they do these numbers, but it's better in rural than in urban, right? So that's one thing that, I'm sorry, I know your question is different, but I feel that there is a story over there that is important for us to talk about a little bit. And initiatives there, so maybe to connect it to your question, an initiative that comes to mind with this fact in front of us is that what is wrong with the kind of education that women have access to in the urban markets that is keeping this number at this 20%, which is what the urban situation is.
Some examples I can think of are, for example, at IIT Madras, we would love to advertise right up front on our banner, we'll talk more in the next panel, that any women student admitted to IIT Madras deserving a scholarship or needing a scholarship can study for free. So there is a even in India even today, there is a sort of a perceived cost burden of study, of educating a girl child, especially if the girl child is a second child. And we can try to fix that stigma, which is actually where the source of the problem, or at least fix the downstream part so the society does not bear the consequence of that stigma for several generations. So that's one thought. Niji, I know you've also done a lot of work in faculty positions, faculty recruitment across all colleges. Gender parity in faculty is a very important leading indicator because those are the role models we look at when we are in the classroom. If I've never seen a woman faculty member in my entire college life, what is the chance I will think I need to employ more women in my company if I were to ever become a startup. So can you talk a little bit about what we can do to help faculty across all India?
Yeah, see, okay, faculty position, just before that one, okay, they have to complete the PhD program, and many a times they have to go for postdocs or anything. So that is the age, because okay, our society tells that girls has to get married at the age of 25 to before 30 and all the things. So by the end of completing the PhD, most of them get married, and as you know, the responsibility will be increasing and all. So many a times what is happening is the PhD, they may not be able to complete on time. So their scholarship will be getting over, okay, so they may not be having scholarship to continue their PhD. So if you can enhance the scholarship to those students, so naturally they will be able to complete their program and go up. That is one thing. And another thing is, when they have an infant, okay, no mother would like to leave the infant and go for a job. So the flexibility in the career and the research, because if you have a break, okay, even if I am sitting in the selection committee, the person is having a break for 3 years, 4 years, I feel that, yes, what is the motivation this person is having? So I will think twice to select that one. So to avoid that type of a situation, if these people are getting out with a PhD and they are sitting at home rearing their kids, so if you can give some sort of a projects which they can manage from home, that do research, okay, a lot of research work, theoretical research work and all they can do, or they can come to the lab for few hours, and that type of a support, postdoctoral support or research, your own industrial problems, whatever be the thing, you can provide them. So they will be getting the continuity, okay, it will not be like a regular job, but they will be getting the continuity and they will not be pulled down in the job market. So these are the things, okay, coming to my mind immediately.
Super, yeah. Very nice. See, as you'll notice, we, at least Liji was dragged onto the panel minutes ago. So whatever she says is completely unprepared, life experience driven. Okay, Preeti and Indu actually prepared, but I helped them prepare, but none of that preparation is now helping them.
Sorry, I helped him
there is
prepare.
A reason.
I think he said it wrong. I helped him prepare, is what he
Yeah, correct. But the reason I wanted it that way is because this is a very important panel in the sense that they're all speaking from their life experience. What preparation more does one need? So, Indu, I want to turn around and ask you lastly, before we go for some closing comments, 30 plus CSR heads, glaring problem in the country. Now, we are short of the global standard in terms of participation in the workforce, especially specific occupations. We talked of faculty members. Are there other occupations where we are lacking women role models? And if so, important occupations. For example, I know my friend Bala is there. When I say the word farmer, how many of you thought of a woman? Right? So there is a serious problem here. So, but if you actually go into the rural areas, there are a lot of women farmers. Okay, so it's just again a bias in our thought. So somewhere, can you help us understand where CSR can help this problem?
Yeah. So there is something called an unconscious bias. You might have all heard about this, right? So like Liji was telling, obviously when they see a recent mom, there are doubts how much they can contribute. I think there was a study done which has been quoted in many places where a bunch of resumes were evaluated with and without the gender taken away. A photo or the name, all related to gender was taken away. And the selection based on the credentials were very different. No? When they knew that there was a woman, more likely the applications were not moving on to be shortlisted. Whereas when there was no gender, the same application got accepted. So there are several such studies across the world which has repeatedly brought this unconscious bias, how much important role it has played in many selections, right from the entry point to the promotion point. So I would suggest that, it's not just a CSR, but corporates and in your hiring, if you can think of these unconscious biases which can go into selection and promotions, that will play a leading role in moving women into the workforce and also into the leadership roles. Then how CSR, Mahesh, to answer Mahesh's question, So there was a recent report by UN Women Organization. Okay, so it says that across the world there is a lot of data gaps. No, SDG 5 talks about gender equality, gender parity. So when they look at all the subsections of gender equality and gender parity, and they looked at data across the world, they found that more than 55% of the countries or the different sections of this SDG, there is a lack of data. And when there is no data, how can you actually make interventions, policy recommendations? No, particularly even I would say like educational institutions, we really don't know. One thing which we are looking at currently, as I also wear the hat of chairperson Women's Forum in IIT Madras. We want to track where our students are going. 5 years down the line, 10 years, the women who are graduating from IIT Madras, where are they? No, and the statistics clearly indicates that there is a steep drop off after PhD. Not many women are pursuing research career, particularly in STEM. On leadership role, it is much lower. So where are all these women? Although we are seeing large amount of students, no, particularly in engineering also, the enrollment is increasing. IIT also recently we went up to 20%. It's still not great, but much higher than what we used to be before. But where are they? Are they following the MHRD fund is being used in preparing these girls? PhD, 4 years, 5 years of support. But if we are losing them, okay, then it's a colossal loss. Okay, so we need to track. The challenges, what Liji said, are real. No, women of childbearing age, they lose 4 to 5 years. So how are we going to bring them back into STEM careers and productive contribution to the society? No, often they say that it's not the women who want to be in STEM, but the science is the one who wants the women. Like Mahesh earlier said, it is very, very important that women play 50% role in making decisions, because as Preeti pointed, we are 50% of the population. So all decision making should be done with the 50% women in the panels. So a lot of steps are being taken, but then we lack role models. The major problems are unconscious bias. Repeatedly, all studies have pointed that. Lack of role models. Okay, if you think of like a scientist or no, an astronaut, the first thing, like farmer, first thing which comes to everybody's mind, including a woman, is a male, right? Because that's what we see in our books. That's what we see everywhere in media. Okay, so we need to change that. So CSR, one thing is getting data. CSR funds can be used to get a lot of gender-based data. Okay, tracking women and all that, and then see how we can improve mentorship, role models, right from school. If we can bring all this, naturally you'll find a change in the workforce, the proportion of women in the workforce and leadership roles.
Thank you all. I think I'll take 2 minutes to close, and the problem is very clear. The interventions are, as Preeti mentioned, look at ways by which students can be encouraged to continue into the workforce, the 22% workforce participation increasing. And as Liji mentioned, looking at ways to make sure people, PhD students have somewhat of a smooth sailing into a faculty career by helping them through their family sort of creation, family period, and making sure that there's a pathway by which gaps are addressed in a seamless fashion, for them to continue to participate in research projects. From IIT's side, we've taken up 2 programs, one called Women Leading IITM, which is funded by alumni of IIT Madras, which basically does what Liji talked about, where we want to help our women PhD students not drop off, as Indu also mentioned, but continue on in their careers. And we want to scale this up to all IITs. The reason we are focused on IITs is because that's where we create the PhD pool that becomes faculty members in most colleges across India. So that's a feeder pipeline. The second intervention program that we are running in partnership with McKinsey is a program called Women Leading India, where we have faculty members at the associate professor level from all IITs, and they are learning the ropes of leadership for them to become deans and directors and vice chancellors at different universities. So the second program is intended to create high-level role models for the whole world to see and to say, I can get there. So we do have gaps. We have funding for one cohort in each of these programs. We're looking to see if you can support us with your CSR to help us run these cohorts for, in more, to reach a greater number of faculty members. With that, go ahead, Preeti.
Just 1 minute.
Maybe one quick round of closing comments and then we will stop.
Sure, thank you. So here's a wagon that IIT Madras has hitched. It's called GATI, that stands for Gender Advancement for Transforming Institutions. Government of India initiative, in fact, really phenomenal piece of work that has been done. As part of GATI, what we are doing is looking really closely at the gender disaggregated data we have across the board. We are also examining our policies very carefully to make sure that they take care of some of the issues that my colleagues on stage have spoken about within the campus. We're also looking at where we are missing in this creation of leaders that Mahesh talked about just now. And at the end, the project is going to end in a little bit. At the end of it, we are going to have a bunch of recommendations based on self-evaluation of ourselves about what steps we need to take in the next 5 years. We're willing to work with you for your institutions if this is something that you want to port. If you're willing to put the scanner on yourself and examine it, it's a government initiative. It's not something that I have invented, but IIT Madras would be happy to work with you on that.
I have something else, we have a lot of NBTL programs and all, and we all know that it is the unconscious mind, which is the root cause of that one. Why can't we develop some sort of a course, which will be creating lot of awareness among the people? Because if you see something constantly, then definitely unknowingly it will be changing that one. So why can't we develop some sort of a NBTL? We don't have to call it as NBTL course, some course, there we can add many of these things. And I was again bringing back the Barbie doll. Instead of that one, why can't we give some other toys and all the things? Because I know that some of them are doing this type of work in US. Why can't we take up those type of things and come up with some new startup and think about these aspects? That will be very, very helpful. We can start a new program on that one with the CSR money. It will be helpful.
Yeah, I also want to talk about the mentorship program we have been recently running for our PhD scholars. It's called the Steward Mentorship Program. This is again run with the support of our alumni and women faculty. So these PhD scholars are completely lost. Unlike a class, these people work in isolation in their labs, only with their faculty. So sometimes they need somebody to talk to. So, and also some role model to look up to. So we are pairing the PhD scholars one-to-one with a faculty who was an alumnus from IIT Madras. Many of them are from abroad. They have signed up for this program, and many of our faculty, Preeti is also one of the mentors. So this has been a very successful program, and we are getting a lot of feedback which we would not have got otherwise. No, they are more comfortable talking to a fellow alumnus than even to the faculty, right? So, so once in 3 months, the mentors get together and look at what are the issues these women are facing. Can we take it up with the administration to solve these issues? So these kind of mentorship programs should grow. We are even extending it now to the undergraduate students. More than 50 alumni, women alumni have signed up for this. And now we are pairing the students with the alumni. So we need more such at all levels, I think, apart from educational institutions.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I learned a lot in this panel discussion. I'm sure all of us did as well. We are 30% women in this room. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll stop here.
Thank you very much, Professor Mahesh and Professor Liji, Professor Indu and Professor Preeti. I think that was a session that would have resonated with all of us. The 30% of the women in this room and the rest 70% of the men, all of us would have experienced this gender, in some, this gender parity in some way or the other. The women in our lives, right, their careers, their, their academic, their aspirations, would have been, would have experience some little nudge or a pushback at some point. So if this cause of diversity inclusion resonates with you, in addition to the ideas that were shared on stage, if you have ideas of your own that you're looking to attach wings to, please feel free to reach out, the people who are anchoring this at IIT Madras. Thank you so much for that panel. And now we will move on to the next panel for the day. That's revolutionizing edu-skilling. I warmly welcome Ms. Anurupa Pereira. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. She's the Director Marketing Communications at Sabre India. Please come forward. She's a moderator for the session. Thank you for joining us today. I also welcome the panelists for the session, Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, Professor Vignesh, Professor Piyush Ghosh, also to please take the stage.
So after that really inspiring panel, we are here to discuss education. I think as Indians, we take great pride in educating our children. Our generations and the generations before us have placed a lot of importance on education. How do we bring that to the masses, to rural India, right? And some of the questions we posed during the session in the previous one, talks about how can we get more women into the workforce as well. So while, knowledge is power, give our kids the best education, so do, women and men in rural India who want to give the best education to their children, and what institute better than IIT to make that happen. So while Professor Mahesh broke my heart by saying only women kids will get free education on merit, I have a son, so, obviously I'm not very thrilled about that. But, as a woman, I can identify with that and say that's a great initiative. So I have on stage here, I think most of you would know, but Professor Mahesh, who is the Dean of Applied Sciences, Professor Vignesh, who is from the Department of Biotechnology, and Professor Piyush Ghosh, who is from Applied Sciences as well. So, Applied Mechanics. Yeah, so with that, let me hand it off to Vignesh, Professor Vignesh, to take us through, what makes world-class education.
So, thanks, Anu. So IIT Madras actually has been working very hard towards democratizing education. So basically, IITs have always been seen as this exclusive club. So getting into it requires this highly competitive entrance exam, which is not really something which people can train for without having resources, right? So we need substantial resources to get trained in today's scenario. So that's not something which IITs like to have. We want education to be available for all. We want people to be trained and skilled in domains which will actually help the industries eventually, and also the economy and the society in the long run. So with this thought in mind, about 20 years back, IITs came together to start an initiative called NPTEL. So many of you might be aware of this. So this was actually before the days of YouTube, okay? So that's when people actually thought we could create videos and put it online and have people watch and actually study. So this vision was from Professor Anant and Professor Mangal Sundar from IIT Madras in the early 2000s, and this initiative was started. and it has now grown leaps and bounds. So we now have more than 4,000 courses which are which are available for free for students to watch. And every year more than 1,200 certification courses are run. And we have almost 7 lakh students who are benefiting from this and earning certificates through this program. So this has a wide range of courses, whether it is very basic fundamental engineering courses or appreciating Carnatic music. We have all range of courses in this. So students from varied backgrounds take it. Students from engineering colleges take it for credit transfer. We have people who are in their 80s who are doing this course and learning German. So a recent person, she completed 2 courses in German. She's an 89-year-old woman who did that. So we have all kinds of people doing this. So because this is free for people to learn, it is available on YouTube and it's easy to see. But for the certification, there is an examination and there is a fee component associated with that. So it's very nominal. It's actually only 1,000 rupees, but still there are significant fraction of people who need support. We have been providing support for about 15,000 people a year. So we would like to provide this support to 25,000 students who would be able to get these certifications and advance their careers. So this is one initiative. This is not just an IIT Madras initiative. Actually, all the older IITs and IISc have come together to run this initiative. So the next initiative which I want to talk about, can you go to the next slide? So that's actually a purely IIT Madras program. So this is a BSc degree. So actually this needs to be updated. Yesterday the program's BS was approved. So now we have a 4-year BS which will be in data science and applications. So this is a very unique model. So in our country we have hundreds of thousands of people who are graduating 12th standard. And our director likes to quote this often. So you have 15 lakh people appearing for JEE and aspiring to be an IITian, and we have 15,000 people admitted to IITs. So what do we do for the rest? So we are hoping this would be one answer which can be provided. So students can choose to pursue this degree. So the idea here is the entry is very inclusive. We have a qualifier process which enables students who are motivated to come and learn from IIT Madras, which provides all the support and training needed for taking the qualifier. And by clearing with a basic eligibility, with 50% in the qualifier exam, you get admitted into the program. However, there are quality control at every checkpoint, so you need to continuously work hard. Unlike most college admissions, right? So all of us know 12th standard, you study, you get a college admission, and then you think you can sail through college because you already have been admitted to a top college, right? So that's not how this program works. So we have an inclusive admission process, but there is a rigorous training throughout in a domain which has a lot of job opportunities. So they are being trained in an area where they can eventually have a successful career. So again, this is open for people of all ages, and we have about 20% working professionals. So this program was started in 2020. The first batch was admitted in January of 2021. So currently there are more than 13,000 students in this program, and we are looking to make this grow in in orders of magnitude actually. So the thing here is the content delivery itself is online. Exams are conducted in person, and there are rigorous vivas and so on. So to make sure that the quality is maintained. So the student who is graduating can truly, proudly call themselves an IITian. So in this program, out of the 13,000 students, more than 3,000 students actually are from financially backwards families. So their family income is maybe less than 1 lakh or 5 lakhs or something like that. So currently we are supporting 1,400 students through full scholarships, and there are another 1,700 students who are seeking scholarships as well. So those are places where we would like your support, and that would be a merit cum means scholarships. We are also providing soft skills training so that there is a well-rounded training for some of these students who need that, and students who come from truly struggling backgrounds even need support for laptops and other devices. So those are aspects where we would really welcome CSR support. So recently we have also launched an initiative to get more students who come from government school backgrounds, from rural and government schools, so that they can come and do this program. So we have started a very small pilot right now. So it is currently it is happening. 200 students are being trained by IIT Madras in-person training to join this program. So we want to expand this program and also reach out to thousands of government schools students who can do this. So these are some of the activities which are going on currently. So can you go to a couple of slides? No, next slide, please. So I don't want to go into great detail about this program. You can go to the next slide. So I can talk about this if anyone is interested. That's specifically about the government school initiative. So these are some of the students who are currently getting CSR support. As you can see, they are at different levels. So they come from varied backgrounds. There are students who are actually just conducting tuitions, and students whose parents are farmers and so on. I have a brief video which I'll not play now. Maybe if time permits, we can see it at the later point. It's about 2 minutes, or we'll see if there is time. But yeah, so I think this gives a brief overview of the various educational initiatives which IIT is doing, whether it is certifications or full-fledged degrees, in a way which can be done at a large scale, so that this high-quality IIT education will reach every Indian who aspires for it. So thank you. I think I'll stop there. I think I took enough of your time.
Thank you. Professor Bijush, do you want to go ahead with your presentation first? Yeah.
So I'm more comfortable standing, so I will just take maybe quick 5.5, 6 minutes, and then we'll come back to this discussion. So, so very good evening to all of you. I will be talking or sharing with you a couple of concepts and ideas, and see if you can work together on this. That's the whole idea of my presentation, and then we can come to the discussion. All right, so little bit of a background. So besides research and teaching, I also take interest in education and little bias towards rural education. So we started an initiative called Teach to Learn a few years back. But the major idea here is, which I think is missing in our country, is connecting the premier institutes with the rural schools or the rural students. The premier institutes should work as a social capital for, in a large holistic term, for the rural schools and the rural students. That concept is somehow not there. So we started this at IIT, and we should actually move on this. Now, as a part of this, what we do is we come up with the different education models, different education concepts, and then we improvise on this, and then we do brainstorm, and then we implement in the field. And particularly, everything is done in the rural school, no urban school in any of these implementations. Yeah. So most of the models, if you look at it, there are details in the webpage. They're either for the enhancement of the communication, or to inculcate critical thinking, or to towards the personality development, and most importantly on the hands-on concepts or hands-on experiments. Now, and next please. Thanks to different CSR which came forward, particularly Verizon, Technip, and DST for supporting this. Now, why I'm telling this is, what we have realized in working with the education, particularly going to the rural school, what we have realized is, that is very important, is education alone, education is good, fine, but I think it is important, as Indu pointed out from the beginning, that, next please, that education, if it is towards livelihood, that creates more impact. That's our observation that we have made from the field. Education towards livelihood, because another advantage is, in that way education, when you say education, we kind of get limited to school level education. But if you bring in this livelihood, actually you can cater to the much wider spectrum of the rural population. So I feel and we realize that this is very important. And one of the ways to do is to bring in technology. And IIT Madras, we have these resources where we can, next please, we can leverage all of these resources on the campus and actually work towards livelihood. These are some of there are many initiatives in our campus. It's not that this is the first thing we are doing. There are many student initiatives, there are many bodies, there are many clubs and in each of these domains, and they are working. And now, next please. And now what we are trying to do is, we are trying to bring all of this together, kind of under one umbrella called CREATE, which we have just started working on, which we're calling as a Center for Rural Education, Applied Technology, and Entrepreneurship. And the whole idea is to leverage the campus resource towards rural livelihood. That's the major focus of this. Next one, please. Now, the approach. I think this is very, very important. You also please think about it. The approach is important. One of the major strategy that we have taken is, we will not call people from rural area to IIT. We will set up center there. We will set up the create center. We will create a center there. And if you go back, you will think, you will find there are a lot of advantages for that. For example, there are easy access for both ways. This is one of the very important component. Like, people will not come to IIT campus. They will not. So you have to go there. And I think that is what one of the major thing that we have to take care. And then the solution and intervention based on field issues, you get a wider market reach. So basically the interaction is much more constructive and much more broad. So this is one of the strategies that we've taken, that the CREATE will create a local center in the villages, and each center will have its different, will have a different activities. Now I'll just quickly talk about 3 such projects or concepts that we are planning and sharing, and see if it is interesting, of interest to you. Next please. Now, this is we have been doing for quite some time, these device engineering things, where our graduate students, PhD, MS, undergrad students, they go to the different schools and then they do this hands-on device engineering training. What we realize now is that, well, we have a set protocol, set structure, module, all these things, but this is not going to maximize the benefit. So what we are planning is to establish these device engineering labs in the rural schools. So we will literally build a lab there in your school, or in whichever school you want in the rural areas. And next please. And that's of course mainly towards hands-on training. And it's just not building the lab. We are designing a very systematic curriculum, that first year you will have this set of devices, starting as simple as soap dispenser. And then second year it will be sewing machine and solar pump, 3D printer, for example. Third year is little bit towards the livelihood, because they need to identify the local resource and should feel confident that I can make use of that through whatever I have learned. And then this will be structured towards a 3-year certificate or diploma program. Next please. Now this is a farm mechanization, intervention training and FMIT, what we call FMIT. So if you look at this farm, this mechanization, the mechanized agriculture or this farming, what happened, it has become extensively dependent on the large-scale equipment manufacturer. At the same time, we also see a very scarcity of laborers in the rural areas. Now, where will these small-scale farmers go? Where will these poor farmers go? Now, to reduce the effort, as well as to increase their yield, what we are thinking is, for example, this is a very simple equipment, says you see de-weeder. This is a picture I've taken from Google, of course. Nutrient applicator, coconut dehusker. What we are planning to do is, we build a repository of this of these kinds, and then we bring the technology intervention and give them back. And what type of what technology intervention? Next, please. So what we are planning and thinking, we started doing is, we will 2 major components. We will add to that. For example, de-weeder. We already started with the de-weeder and the nutrient applicator. We are trying to automate this, and we are trying to make it module-based design. This is one of the feedback that we get. One equipment should be able to cater to a larger types of problems and also different field conditions. So as a part of this, we will do that, and then we will give this skill and the training to the youths in the rural areas, and then finally create the livelihood training for them, either in terms of rental centers or some sort of entrepreneurial activities. So this is purely again for the rural youth, doesn't have to be men alone. This can be done very much by the women or the girls even there. Okay? And the last one. Now, this is in connection to the last panel discussion. See, as again I take from Indu's what she mentioned again and again, the role model. What we have noticed, just sharing our experience of visiting the schools, whenever we bring some intervention program in the schools, we ask who are interested, they raise a hand. Again, 90% of them are girls, or little exaggerated, let's say 70% of them girls, 30% let's say boys. But again, where the problem is, again the number gets reversed later. Why? This is role model. That is one major problem that we have seen in the rural school level, at the school level. There's no more different there. Anyway, coming to this, if you look at it very carefully, in India, we have a real shortage of efficient scientific equipment operators. We don't have this culture of nurturing them. Other countries spend a lot of money. And in industry, in academia, we face this problem. We don't have really a good operators, technical operators. In the rural areas, there are many graduate women. So that's a resource. It's a problem, but it's a resource. Why can't we connect? Next, please. Why can't we connect this resource with this problem through our program, what we are calling as Rural Women in Equipment and Scientific Training, RWEST. Next, please. And steps are very simple, and it just identify the needy and the interested women graduates, train 6 to 9 months at IITs, it's doable. While they are trained, give them some hands-on experience, and then find a job opportunities, because there is a need. Believe me, there is a need in the industry as well as in the academia. If we can train good hands, there is a need. And I feel this is one of the ways to create some role model, give some confidence in the rural people. Well, look, my elder sister has got this job, so why can I? So there are different ways that you can create this role model. This is a very simple effort. So if you can come forward and support these sort of things, of course, after it interests you and you feel, with a little bit of fine tuning this side, that side we can do, that would be really nice. I'm sorry I took more than 6 minutes, but I will make up that later. Thank you.
I'm curious to know how you will make up for that later. Okay. I'll actually go the other way. I'll just take 30 seconds. We live in a country where education, the value for education need not be explained to any one of our 1.3 billion fellow citizens. Anybody at any social or economic stratum, they have a child, you tell the parents, you can either make this kid a carpenter or make this kid a graduate, BSc, BA. Very clear what they will choose. Now, how do we provide power to those aspirations? How do we bring wing to those? How do we blow some wind beneath those wings? The answer lies in technology and edu-skilling using technology. Both the programs that you saw showcased here, NPTEL, the BSc program, as well as CREATE, leverage technology into scale education and skilling. So I think I want you to think of this. We are an aspirational country with lot of aspirations, and you can only reach the scale through these kinds of online programs where the quality is still assured. So I'll stop there.
We did speak about these two fantastic programs. So Professor Mahesh, I just want to ask you, how do you take it beyond this group of people who are here? How do we take this know-how to a larger audience and get them to also partner with IIT?
I think the answer is to first, we have several CSR partners here who are already working with IIT through your CSR programs. I'll request this group to be loud in your messaging. It's the first request to all of you. The second request I have is that we need to all believe in the power of technology to help us scale edu-skilling systems. And those of us that believe, there are methods by which we can support. So maybe, we talked of scholarships, there is significant resources that went into creating these platforms. All of that was government funded. It does not need to be that way. That is not the only way. CSR can help us create these platforms. Tomorrow, I know Piyush is working on the create network of rural interaction centers in villages. So a small center, a room where kids in the village can come and somebody sitting in the Bay Area at Google can talk to these kids in Tirunelveli about something interesting. All they need is a Zoom connection into that room in that village. Zoom in a room. How about creating this program and you pick your favorite 100 sites and you say, let's create these Zoom in a room RICs.
So I'm going to pivot from that question to the next one for Professor Vignesh. Access to technology is a huge issue. I'm sure if we check our phones now, I'm sure there's no network here. We're talking about Bangalore, in the city, IT capital, Silicon Valley of India, etc. As you go further down, a few kilometers, you don't get network. So how can children actually watch the brilliant videos that you all have created? What can we here help, bridge that gap?
So, digital divide is a challenge. It's not just about the devices, it's also about the network, the availability of data. Like even if you actually have some connection, you may not be able to watch videos for hours in a day and so on, which might be required if you're going to pursue an entire degree online. And all of us did this in the last 2 years, right? All of us who had kids had people connected to the network for like 2 hours or 3 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours and so on. And that's not really sustainable unless we have a proper network connection and so on. So one way we are looking to see how we can do that is partnering with local colleges, local schools. So schools and colleges do have reasonably good networks, reasonably good facilities. Even government schools actually have a lot of infrastructure, especially in places like Karnataka or Tamil Nadu or Kerala and so on. There are government schools are in the higher secondary level have computer labs which can be used. So we are looking to see if those kinds of facilities can be established where students can actually come in and study instead of having to rely on a phone which they might have and just a data connection that they might have. So those are all certain ways with which we can use a blend of brick and mortar with the online education, providing them a hybrid learning environment. The other advantage of something like that would be 5 students going and sitting there to watch a video will also create a network for themselves and provide peer learning support, which creates a lot of interesting opportunities. So this is one way where Create and the BS program will eventually start working together when we have the RIC, and we will probably be able to leverage that and get students from places where they may not have this kind of a facility. If we can kind of establish these facilities and provide these support, that I think would be a way to overcome the challenges that you're alluding to.
Great. One question to Piyush is, rural areas with the lack of infrastructure, the lack of opportunities kind of makes a lot of parents in the rural areas move to cities that are already concentrated, So how can the industry, the corporates and the government, because I'm sure IIT's alumni is, influential enough with both government as well as in the private sector with so many CEOs out of the IIT, right? How can we influence the rural economies to have these education centers and job opportunities in there itself and make it self-sufficient and not migrate into cities?
So this is a very tough question. But let me tell you, again, from my experience, what I feel. No matter what you do, you have to fix the education to the best possible. If a parent sees that, my kid is going to this school, in spite of going to this school, he is able to compete with an urban kid. That's where it starts. Even though it doesn't sound very interesting, but that is one definite, that's what gives you the confidence, number one. And the number two is the livelihood. Again, I go back to my same 2 points, that you create some local, at least some local pockets, through CSR, through IIT, through somebody. Create some opportunities there where they can see that, okay, even if my son is not able to go for higher studies, or my daughter is not going to higher studies, they can make some money so that our family can run. The rural area scenario is different. First is that stomach. Make sure that your stomach is full. And that is very important. So again, education and some means of livelihood. That we can create. And I feel that institute like IITs and other premier institutes, they need to take more responsibilities than they have taken in the past. I feel that. And I don't think they have taken enough responsibilities in the past. So it's a time that, and now with the CSR people, CSR, I mean, this system is there in place, I feel now they cannot tell we don't have money. So we have to take this responsibility and try to create these opportunities and this quality to the best extent possible. Otherwise, I would think that we are just finding excuses.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. I am just glad to know that my son can get into IIT without passing JEE, because I don't think he will be able to. But I want to thank Professor Mahesh, Vignesh and Professor Piyush for this session, and we will take the questions at the end. Thank you.
If we have 2 minutes, can we play the video?
Sure, we can play the video.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I mainly wanted to play the video because it also has some testimonials from the students who are actually benefited from the CSR support. You can see the kind of impact a CSR support to such a program can actually have. So I hope more partners join us so that we can provide this kind of education which directly ties to high quality education. Thank you.
Data is at the foundation of all the mega trends that are happening today, from social to mobile to cloud to gaming. We are living in a world of big data that is empowering businesses and organizations to make data-driven decisions. Handling data is all about getting the right training. IIT Madras's BS degree in Data Science and Applications, the first of its kind, reaches out to students all over the country who have a passion towards data science, a cutting-edge domain where the demand is quite high and growing. IIT Madras, ranked number 1 at the National Institutional Ranking Framework, Indian Ministry of Education, strives to fill in the skill gap by identifying passionate students and honing their talents in the area of data science. What's even more interesting is that students are privileged to study at IIT Madras without writing the hyper-competitive joint entrance examinations. Students that are currently pursuing the IIT Madras BS degree hail from diverse geographies, different age groups and varied socio-economic backgrounds. 1,400 students from financially disadvantaged backgrounds are currently being supported by corporate companies through a merit-cum-means scholarship.
If this scholarship was not there, it was a 100% chance that I would have dropped out from this course.
Been able to pursue this course without any financial troubles and also with mental peace.
My father is a farmer and is the only earning member in our family.
Merit-cum-means scholarship aims to create an unbiased level playing field for India's youth, removing barriers to education, making quality education accessible to all and turning their dreams into reality. More than 1,500 students need your support to make their dream a reality. Are you ready to help them?
Thank you very much. I warmly thank the panelists of the previous panel. Let's put our hands together and appreciate them. I think there's one thing that's very distinctly, strongly coming out through the panel, at least for me, that the way out in terms of development is to educate the next generation, and not just a education in paper, but an education that equips them with life skills, with job skills, right? And the way to reach a country like India, the length and breadth of it, the only way out to reach it at scale is through technology. It's going to be cost effective, it's going to be scalable, and it's going to be totally worth every single rupee that you spend on it, right? So with that, I warmly welcome The panelists for the next session, we have a fireside chat lined up for you. Very happy to invite Ms. Deepa Nagaraj, the Global Head of Communications and Sparkle Innovation Ecosystem Emphasis. Please come to the stage. Can we welcome her, please? I also welcome Mr. Manoj K. Ramakrishna, Head Marketing South Asia at Cytiva. Please come. And the topic of the fireside chat is on leveraging technology to drive your CSR. So over to you, Deepa and Manoj.
Thank you. Thanks again, everybody, for staying with us through the evening. I know it's been a long day. You may have emails to catch up to, and we're both sitting here between you and dinner. We promise by the time you get out, you'll have lesser traffic to deal with. So thanks for staying with us, right? So while for the past 2 hours, right, you've heard everything that's there on this little standee to say, how can you leverage technology for CSR, right? We thought we'll take that side of the standee. Can all of you see that? Sisters, can we rewrite this? So we flip the order around and we say, how can you use technology for CSR? All right? And we're going to talk about some of that. Before we get to that, any auditors in the room? Yes, no, maybe? No? Nobody from the government tax department? No? Okay, then we can get started. Manoj, would you like to introduce yourself and then I can get started?
Yeah, I'm Manoj. I head the marketing for Cytiva, South Asia. Cytiva is a company in the biopharmaceutical domain where we provide equipments for the biopharma industry. So be it the COVID vaccines which are developed recently, so those are on our equipments.
Thank you very much. So I'm Deepa. I manage 3 very different portfolios at Emphasis. Right? The first piece that I do is communications, which is press, media, investor relations, all of that. The second one is what I call the Sparkle, or rather we call the Sparkle Innovation Ecosystem. While we're a technology services company, instead of just creating all the technology in-house, how do we leverage startups, academia like IIT Madras, and everybody else to be able to take services to market cheaper, better, faster. And the third piece is ESG and CSR, right? So therefore, with the cross-functional hat that I wear, it just makes it easier for me to be able to leverage technology for other pieces, right? So while we got up over tea earlier today, we were trying to figure out what are some of the initiatives that we're running with IIT, right? So when you leave the room, while all of you are thinking about how do we partner with IIT to support their CSR initiatives, right? We were thinking about how do you leverage somebody like IIT for your own business needs, right? While the 2% CSR mandate for listed companies is for social good, right? And you cannot leverage it for your own employees or your own organization. That doesn't stop you from leveraging technology or what you're doing for your organization, right? And how could that be possible? So we thought we'll talk about a few examples, and we please welcome all of you to share examples if you have any as well. Manoj, if you want to get started.
Maybe I will start with a question, right? If there was no CSR rule, would your company have looked into this?
Absolutely. So Emphasis has been around for about 25 years now, right? And while the CSR rule's been here for only about 6 years, we've been doing it for over 20 years now, right? And I think, and this came up because of a need that we have as an organization as well. We wanted to hire people with disabilities, right? And if you're hiring people with disabilities, how are you going to have technology support them? So we started reaching out to NGOs, we started reaching out to universities, to researchers to say, do you have anything that can convert whatever I'm saying, voice, to actions, right? Which is basically for people who can't hear what I'm saying, right? So if I have to use actions, can I use technology to be able to do that? And those are some of the things that we started doing. We also partnered with somebody called NCPEDP for changing policies, and this was done about 15 years ago. So now in railway stations, if you're seeing ramps, in every building, if you're seeing mandated wheelchair access, this was done by an organization that we supported many, many years ago.
Okay, great to know. And my revelation was that I was in one of the panels recently, Life Sciences panel, India Life Sciences Council, I would say. 30 to 40 CEOs from the biotechnology group over there. None of them were aware that CSR funding could be used for research. Nobody in that panel. So when I told that we were doing it, one project with IIT Madras, etc., they were surprised. So they were telling like, is it allowed? Now, so I was, during tea break, I was discussing with Professor Mahesh, right? Is this something new? Even I wasn't aware. Is this something new that CSR funding could be used for research? He told it has been always there. But the top line always read like using it for charitable purpose and things like that. And that is the way even most of us think about CSR. We look into the downstream thing, charity, etc., very much visible. We can market it as an organization. See, end of the day, we are all actors in an organization, right? Why should an organization put CSR money on technology and research? Is there awareness in the first place? So there are a lot of these questions, and one of the panelists before us was talking like we need to be the voice to kind of take this message further, right? So that has been my experience with various folks.
Perfect. So with IIT Madras, right, emphasis is setting up a quantum technologies lab. Now, while quantum is fantastic in theory, right, the way we are looking to leverage the IIT Madras Quantum Lab is for our own research. Now, think about all the research and the academicians, right? They're really smart at what they do, and that's why they're in IIT, right? But what they need help with is industry challenges, and they need the bookends, right? Where do you get the data to be able to leverage for quantum? Where do you go ahead and implement it? So if organizations like us are able to partner with them, it's probably great for both of us, right? We're able to get them the industry challenges, they are able to help us solve it. Similar to what they're probably doing for you in your own sector.
Yeah, in our case also. But before that, I have a question like, is CSR funding in technology all about providing the funding for doing research, or is it like your employees also partner? One is problem statement, you already told you partner, but during the research also will the employees partner?
Yes, absolutely. So we have key milestones, right? So obviously if it is a domain-centric challenge that is there, we don't expect everybody to know everything, right? So there is a lot of mentorship that goes into projects like this. There are extremely specific milestones that are marked up ahead before the project, and there is somebody who's guiding them through the project as well.
Okay, excellent. So the reason I asked this is because since the IIT Madras faculty is here, the question I always get from my company is like, when we provide CSR funding for research or other kind of activities, we also want our employees to feel it, that they are contributing. Which in the case of charity, we go and do an activity, all of us feel that we are contributing. There is something tangible there. But in the case of research also, we want that. There are employees with certain skills, etc., who would like to work alongside or contribute, or to be seen that we are also working alongside. So if you can think about how can such an ecosystem be enabled, I think that will be fantastic. Coming to your question on what we did is like, we worked on this project with IIT Madras on ocean research, and this was like that earlier panelist was talking about circular economy, right? So some of this, Dr. Smita's lab and Dr. Guhen's lab actually, so were this seaweeds and many other ocean-related stuff. Some compounds are extracted, and these compounds could be used for cancer cure and many other disease cure, etc., or even pains, multiple applications. But how the circular economy worked there, why that project was of interest to us, is because that will help the fishermen and other community around that to kind of get into such kind of occupation as well. So that sounded very interesting. And in our company, initially we also used to fund everything on purely charity and such kind of things which are visible. But the change that was happened is that now for us the top areas for CSR are research, sustainability, like that the order goes. There are 5 things, I don't remember all of them, but research, sustainability, etc. And what better combination than research plus sustainability? So that's what we
Absolutely. For us as well, we have livelihood, employability, and empowerment as our themes for CSR, right? So that becomes our litmus test to see if any CSR project is actually something that we'd like to fund or not. One of the common myths that any of you may be facing in your organization as well is the closest police station comes up and says, listen, we want to do a facelift, can you give us money? Right? There is a lake within the tech park that needs to be cleaned. Do you have CSR funds? CSR funds are not free funds. Right? These are not grants or doles that we're waiting to just give out because we feel like doing that, right? So at the end of the day, all of us have a board that we are answerable to. And at the board, the first thing that they ask, I think they come with these standard set of questions, right? Be it business, be it CSR, be it whatever, what is the ROI that you're getting? Right? And if you're not able to show ROI on any of your CSR initiatives as well, and when I say ROI, I'm not talking about monetizing. We can't monetize any of the CSR things, right? We're on the right side of law. But if you're not able to show ROI, right? None of your CSR projects are going to be sustainable, right? You have to be able to refund that. So that's probably where your research project as well comes in, right?
I think 2 points there is that the ROI part, right? Funding it on a downstream activity, which is like a charitable activity, direct impact on people, very visible. Funding it on research, if the research is successful, then the impact is much broader, right? Huge impact. But success, that is key. And in research, what's the success rate always? The commercialization success rate. So we need credible partners. So that's the way the discussion often goes, and why, say for example, IIT Madras, credible partner, success in research, etc. That there it stands apart. So these are some of the discussions which we had with our other people when we were discussing around how to use the CSR budget.
So it's literally giving somebody a fish or teaching them to fish, right? So the other thing that, and it's not just with IIT Madras, while we're here for an IIT Madras event, and we're all going to be talking about the projects that we're doing with them. But even in the past, while this is a very nascent project, and the next time we probably hear, we'll tell you about some of the outcomes of our quantum research piece that has come out of the lab. But even with any of the other CSR partners that we've worked, right? We work with a lot of educational institutions. We've worked with IIITB, with Ashoka University, with Plaksha, with every single university. The other thing that we always take on projects where technology will impact and have social good, right? Tech for good. If our core focus is technology, and if we are not able to leverage our core focus and our employees in something that is tech oriented, then we don't see that there is actual value add in this, right? It's just about giving out free money, and that's not what it is. So that's probably what it is with your organization as well, right? Where you're
Very
looking
true.
at research
Yeah.
for any of the other things that we're doing. Would anybody like to share any examples with us? I don't know how much time we have. Any examples of how you're leveraging technology for your own CSR with IIT Madras or otherwise?
Maybe we can, should we wind off and then questions as well, like Dr. Mahesh was telling, like we can have, one point I would like to make before that is like, video, right? Okay, fine, yeah. So just one point which I would make before that is like when we talk about this applications of CSR budget for various purposes, etc. Like the earlier panelist was talking, how can we, there were various examples here. There was an example on skilling initiatives, right? How can rural women be skilled on operating equipments, etc. There was an example, one panelist talked about that. And we see that in Cytiva. We are the sellers of this very complex equipments that are used for biopharma discovery, whether they are the beer cores or ECTAs and the likes. And we go and meet various government institutes around the country, incubators, etc. These equipments worth crores are lying there and there is no operator. There is a contractor for 1 year, after that there is nobody. Utilization is not there. So I can clearly relate the topics which were discussed in this forum. I could very clearly relate real-time life problems, but then again, some other panelists was telling the action. We need actions on the ground. And this was a beautiful forum. So I really liked it, and we need to spread this message across. Thank you. That was just the last point which I wanted.
Sure. Thank you, everybody. We're around if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manoj and Deepa. Sure. We have a small video clip to share, Professor Mahesh. Then we can take the questions, definitely, like you said. So can CSR funding actually fund research that has social impact? That's a question that we have been facing across various donors, right? So there has been some hesitation. There is a growing, understanding now amongst various donors that yes, it can fund research, right? So just to kind of clarify that, we have a small video clip for you where the Finance Minister of India, Honorable Nirmala Sitharaman ji, has shared her views on it.
Because the government itself can fund these things, right?
No, 1 minute. Government can fund, and it does. It is doing. And it will also increasingly do more. But today, because there is a need for fairly large investments and large money to be given for R&D, we are opening up CSR window also. It is not that government is drawing CSR money into government. Government recognized institutions is what is the idea there. IIT receives fund from government, but it is not a government institution in that sense. It is funded by government, but it is an autonomous institution for engineering and technology. So if there is a science and technology with an SDG slant, related R&D work which is being done there, CSR money can also go there, is the emphasis.
Yeah, I will just add, Rajesh ji, I will just add to this CSR fund. It is not only the question of spending by a government body. Let us say there is a private pharma company and they want to conduct some research in pharmaceuticals. Now that 2% money can be spent, they can assign their research or they can do the research in coordination with, let us say, ICMR or the National Chemical Laboratory or the IITs, and then they can get their own research done along with such institutions and derive benefit out of it.
Okay, that's unintentionally reiterating the point, but you get the picture, right? So thank you very much. You've been a great group. We'll, I think, have a round of question and answers from panel 1 onwards down the line. Any questions, feel free to ask. If you could just raise your hand, we'll pass the mic around.
It's not a question, but it's just a thought which I want to share. Maybe so which needs some. It might be of your interest as well. The rural education, right? I think so that's something which is close to my heart, and that's something which caught my attention also. What I have noticed is that most of the rural population drops from the education even though they have resources, even though they can pursue the education. One line why they miss that is the fear of failure. Because they live in a society where they are constantly judged. So I mean, right from childhood, their parents are constantly comparing them with someone else, so they think that if they go higher studies, if they go 10th class, and if they fail there, it will be a major embarrassment for them in the village. So they don't go. Right? So whatever programs you have, all this BSc, all these things, so maybe when you are going to rural side, this is one aspect you may want to think about. So how to help them to overcome that phobia. Right? So.
Right. Thank you. I'd request us to just introduce ourselves and then also share a question. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. But it again goes back to the nature of education. From class 5, and by the way, I don't agree with rural, that comparison is even more horrible and whatever in the urban. So, but what you have pointed out is a very important point, and it's about the nature of education. If at the beginning, from class 5 onward, you are not giving them that, building that that critical thinking ability, or to do the analysis or whatever about what they are doing, it will happen, no matter what you do. So again, it goes back to the fundamental, which is really a problem. I mean, again, difficult to fix immediately. But that's a very good point, and that's your observation is 100% correct. That it actually goes in their mind. So yeah, definitely we will need to work on that.
Because Shweta shared this information with me, and I was talking to one of my relative, and then I advised her, why don't you make use of this program? So the first reaction was, oh no, what if I fail? So they don't want to even think about it because they think that they will fail. And when they fail, there is a major embarrassment which they have to face in the society around. Yeah.
Right. I think for that we should also have something for the parents, to be honest, because it's we who set the context for our children, isn't it? Bringing them up. It's okay to fail, right? Create that context but anyway, yeah. Any other, thank you for that. Any other thoughts, questions, please?
Oh yes, this question for Indu here. I could have asked this question in the break, but I thought maybe your answer would probably help a larger audience. One of the project you was talking about, that zero carbon emission cohort that you do. Now it is more centered in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu that way. If CSRs here in Karnataka want to execute that kind of project, because we always see that, if we want to do something here, we have to do it here in Karnataka. So maybe a few districts together, some students from the different neighboring districts probably, they also can participate, and some other in Bangalore also.
Yeah.
So can we have programs centered, focused in Karnataka?
Yeah, definitely possible. I forgot to mention that it is an all India contest, what we organized. So if there were many teams from Tamil Nadu, but we did have representation from at least 12 other states, including Karnataka. There were teams. And we can decentralize it to some extent, at least to the southern. Logistics might be the restrictive factor here. But the demo day, what we organize, where we bring all the prototypes to IIT Madras and showcase it to industries and government, it can be done at multiple locations, because that's going to be the big event where the technology is actually going to be adopted.
Yeah. So big day is just a one-day activity. Okay, for corporate it's also like employee engagement. They want to do senior leadership and all that. They also want to get into project and work with the,
yeah, definitely. Like the problem can be brought from the corporates, and it can be posed as a challenge to the teams. And that they can work along with the teams, no? They can give them data from the industry, and they can bring, like if it's a wastewater treatment technology, you can send your own samples and let them try out how it works. So all kinds of engagement is possible. We would really like the industries to partner with the team so that the technology developed will be more suitable for directly applying into the industry. Definitely.
So this was for you or CSR?
I would like to thanks to all of you. I think it was a wonderful session. I'm Ashish from Bosch. I have few points to mention here. The first point regarding the technology use, we are working on the RO waters in Rajasthan. I am from Jaipur basically. And the problem there is the wastewater out of RO. Okay. And we tried it, some research work also, but no solution till now. Second point I wanted to mention here is regarding the use of technology. There was earlier one person for timing was decided, okay, morning 6 to 9 and evening 3 to 6. Now we have provided ATMs for water. So that kind of technology we are using. One point I wanted to mention, every time we are adding, means we are thinking CSR means exchange of funds. But I believe institute like IITs and all, we should come forward for exchange of knowledge. For example, I feel this particular work, how we can utilize your expertise where we can get solutions for waste RO water. And here, if you ask me, if somebody come and say, okay, we want to do research for that, but we need money, even anyone, because we are not sure how much success rate will be there. And it is difficult to get approval from top management. So even in volunteering also, I feel most of our like corporates feels, if volunteering is there, there will be something, at least well done card. But as a CSR or in this thought process, we should come forward without feeling like we will get back something. So that's my thought process, and it's my personal thing. Let's come together, exchange the knowledge, and whatever personally we can do without thinking of money or without thinking of getting something back. I think that way we can go ahead. But it was wonderful sessions, and definitely we can together we can go forward. Thank you.
I just wanted to add here. Okay, you are talking about RO reject management and all. Okay, we had done a lot of research. Okay, it was textile industry came and asked us to do something for them. So what we have done is a sustainable solution using solar and wind evaporation systems and all the things, and followed by crystallizers or vacuum derived things. So we'll be getting fresh water as well as salt. Okay, so those type of research we have done, and some industries also came and it shown interest to take it up and all the things. Okay, because a lot of things are already published and patented also. Okay, so this type of information is there. Okay, if needed, we can have some open house type of a thing with available technologies so that it will be helpful for the industries.
Sure, thank you.
I just want to take this opportunity to also acknowledge Bosch. They were one of the first people to set up a center for data science using CSR funds, both at IIT Madras and at IISc. So I really want to, they sort of were the forerunner of this whole thinking.
Thank you very much. Actually, somebody was talking, means 6 years back we were doing in India. But if I talk about Bosch, 136 years back he started CSR kind of activities, and we are continuing. So it's a value system we are running in the organization. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Okay, there's one.
I'm Peter. I've been in the CSR ecosystem for quite some time. I work closely with HAL, Collins Aerospace, Airport Authority of India, and such organizations. So this topic is very great, leveraging technology to drive CSR. that's what attracted me here, and thank you for this and the great work you guys are doing. And my thing is, like, say, whatever we are doing in this area should be of some impact. Like, say, for example, the bridging the industry-academia gap, or something concrete. If you do, how do we increase the productivity in the whole ecosystem? Or if you're doing research that should target some of these problems which are bringing solutions to problems, right? That's where all these contributions should go, and I'm sure, and I'm glad to know you're working on in this direction. Now I have a startup which is working in this area of CSR enablement, or we are a CSR enabler. I would like to know who's the point of contact in IIT. Who could be the single point of contact, or name? And
I'll give you.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Just one last feedback or question, and then we'll wrap up.
So I think this is all the faculty will start a discussion. So this is regarding, I think there were topics on technology. Now I'm going to women in STEM. I have a group where I have 50% women. And typically it's like, we don't have to sympathize women to hire in a group. I think anytime we talk about diversity inclusion, it looks like we're trying to sympathize, either it's a rural or a woman. I think that's not the case. In my lab, I hire based on merit and they perform really well. Initially, my group's women's strength was like roughly 10%, and eventually now it's close to 50-50 in my group. The moment it has become 50-50, we don't have such a thing called men or women in the group. It's essentially become a kind of, I can give any tough topics to anyone, doesn't matter. It's purely based on merit. And there are some topics in my group which are led by women. So anytime either it's in a CSR meet or it's kind of diversity meet, there's kind of the sympathy is kind of introduced into those things. I think that should be completely removed. Either let it be rural education, let it be like a kind of bringing the upbringing the people from the lower level, or it'll be women education, whatever it is. I think so. That's something I just want to highlight to others. Until the proportion becomes equal, women also feels a bit insecure about working, and they feel like they are kind of a smaller proportion in the whole team. The moment it becomes equal, I see the performance also becomes fantastic. One more point I want to add up is about marriage. Thing is that anytime, I think this is something like Professor Liji talked about. So once they get married, they don't perform or something, we always have that doubt. In my lab, nearly half of my group members are married. And I can honestly say, all the married men and women both, they are the most productive guys in the group. I'm married too.
So on behalf of all the married people in this group, we say thank you. Right. Okay, thank you so much, Professor. So just a very last, very fleeting, quick closing remark to what you had shared, sir. You shared a very key concern about research, that the success rate becomes a question mark, and therefore there is hesitancy in terms of funding that. So just wanted to add that there's research in various stages, right? So if success rate is a concern, we could always look at a translational or a transformative research to be funded, because every single project that you saw presented out here was a product of a labor of love. So tremendous research which got fueled by some funding from somewhere who dared to believe, who walked the journey with us, and we were able to make it happen together. So on that note, I think would like to invite Mr. Kaviraj Nair, our Chief Executive Officer of the Office of Institutional Advancement at IIT Madras, to share a formal closure note, vote of thanks to all of you. Over to you, Mr. Kaviraj.
So I just want, first of all, thank you everyone for attending, for participating in today's event. I think we had a set of very meaningful discussions, right? So there are two parts to, I'll quickly summarize, but there are two parts to my speech. So the first thing is just to tell you about the engagement model at IIT. So we spoke about various projects that we carry out, various themes and all of that. So one of the questions that I get asked usually is so how do we actually go about working with you together, right? So very clearly, so what we do is it's a bit of iterative process. Either the companies reach out to us, or like we reach out to the companies. Then we look at what are the themes that you're working on, like, right? So that's essentially the first level of alignment that we do. Post which we come back and we look at our repository of projects. So our team has got about 200 or 250 projects, centered around various themes on water, sanitation, environmental technologies, all those things like data sciences, women empowerment, all of that, right? But most of this will be at the kernel level. Like, so you have about 70% of what you are looking for will be what is there, like, right? But then we get into project-specific discussions with you. We involve the specific faculty who are leading these projects, and then kind of scope out the project, right, very clearly up to your satisfaction. What are the deliverables, what are the milestones, what are the timelines, commercials, and all of that, right, and the compliance part. So a couple of things I want to tell you is that very clearly in IIT, we are very keen on measuring the impact. And we have, providing all the compliance report. We are very transparent about it. We are a CAG audited organization, as you know. So we have a donor stewardship team, whose only role is actually to, provide all the reports on deployment progress, utilization, everything to you. So you will feel absolutely comfortable working with us on that front. So once all that is done, like, it moves into the deployment mode. So that's on the engagement part. Second thing I wanted to request is that, like, as you would have seen, this clearly CSR funds can be utilized for scientific research. And internally, our request is that when you go back to your respective organization, I think you should kind of encourage more discussions at the senior leadership level and with the CEOs and all of that, respective CEOs. Because at some level, I think this is becoming more of CEO's agenda. Only then, if you have a 100 crore CSR budget and if you need to actually invest that in scientific research, which, as somebody rightly pointed out, yes, very clearly, like, scientific research are sometimes long gestation period. You don't get an immediate 2-month results, like, right? So if you really need to be long-term and not really quite myopic, if I may say so, about your approach, then you need to build alignment with all your stakeholders, including perhaps your board members and your and your CEO and CEOs and all of them. So my other request is also to kind of generate more discussions in your respective companies around this point. So that's about it. And third part, I also wanted to, I would like to formally thank all the participants of this evening. First of all, our sincere thanks and gratitude to all the corporate partners who made an earnest attempt to attend the event today. Thank you so much. I mean, you guys provide the best opportunity for all of us, for our faculty also, an opportunity to translate their research work for social impact. So very clearly, your support is of immeasurable value to us. Like, so we look forward to working very closely with all the corporate partners. I would like to thank the faculty members of IIT Madras who took all the effort to travel today. I mean, I know how difficult, frankly, let me tell you, when I go to their offices, how difficult it is to get some time with them sometimes, because there's too many things on their plate, right? Like, but when I spoke about something like this and an opportunity to interact with industry, without any hesitation, every one of them showed a lot of eagerness and enthusiasm and energy to, said, fine, we are on, like, right? Like, so thank you so much to all the faculty members of IIT Madras who took the effort to come down to Bangalore and talk about various topics. I would like to thank Professor Mahesh, Dean, Alumni and Corporate Relations, Mrs. Alameno ma'am, who is a trustee of IIT Madras Alumni Charitable Trust, and of course my team members here, all of them, Vasudha, Shweta, Padma, Rajesh, all of them. And I actually want to call out Shweta's name because Shweta is actually based in Bangalore. So Shweta is the point of contact for Bangalore region. So you could reach out to her. I mean, I'm sure that Shweta, you have shared your contact details, right? So that's about it. And thank you again, and I invite you for the dinner and networking sessions after that. Yeah, I think we have a small memento presentation, right? Let's
closing session, which you did. And now we invite Professor Mahesh, Alumelu ma'am, and Kaviraj on the stage to give a small memento to all our moderators, the CSR moderators, and also our faculty. Yeah. So, Professor Mahesh. finally, thank you everybody over here for making this event successful. And we are open for the networking session to be discussed, the projects, what was discussed by the faculty. Please go ahead. Please join us for dinner. Thank you so much.